Hello. That was interesting. YouTube didn't give me a countdown, but it tells me I'm live. So when you tell me I'm live, I'll believe it. Until then, I'm going to go through the chat. Guess what? Just for a change, Jonathan, number one. Can you hear me yet, Mike?
Just.
Yay! Congratulations, Jonathan. Not to put anybody else off, but young Jonathan has got in first on an event that's not happening for 29 days yet. He's ahead of himself, what can I say? Hello, Kim, number two. Debbie said she should have checked in last night when she was thinking about it. Yes. I think we're going to have to redefine what number one means, aren't we, Mike? Otherwise, Jonathan's just going to win from now till forever. Maybe, this will act as an incentive, maybe Jonathan should be stripped of his number one slot if he doesn't make it to the end of the show. In which case, Kim would take over. Oh, but she's the umpire. Oh, dear.
The umpire strikes back.
Yes, indeed. Let's see how that's going. Anyway, who else have we got? Hello, John. And Mrs. John, usually. Hello, Deb. That's two Debs. We need the third Deb. Hello, Tony. Hello, Graham. Who else have we got in here? Deb. There we go. There's the three Debs. Hope I don't miss anybody. Hello, Renee. Renee's given me like a bit of a script there to follow. I could just follow that, couldn't I? That'd be fine. Yeah, I should say that, and all those I forgot. There you go.
And everyone else who knows me.
And everybody else who knows me. Hello, Terry. Good to have you with us. I think I'm there. I think I'm caught up. Excellent. Right. This could be interesting, couldn't it, Mike? You know, when it says there's an update to your software, and you think, that'll do that. Yeah. Never do that 20 minutes before a show. That's all I'll say. Never do it 20 minutes before a show.
I got an update at work.
Did you?
Yeah, I told you. I've got Office.
Oh, you did? Do share that.
Office with XLOOKUP.
Oh, he's going to be a happy boy with that, aren't you? Right. I need those in the right place then. I need to be at the top of there.
What I find is funny is when I look at the version number, because it's August 2020, it shows as 2008. But 2008 was a Mac version.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Right, I'm going to push buttons and then share with you, and with a bit of luck, everything will work fine. On the other hand, as is often the case, maybe it won't. We'll see. Come on, up you come. Right, and I do think at that point I'm ready to go. She said, hopefully. I haven't stopped my notifications, so that's annoying, isn't it? Right, there we go. So I'm going to hit the button, and you should see very little difference, but now you're looking at my slides. Hopefully. We will see if that is indeed what you are seeing while we try and see what we're going to see. Excellent! The week at MacBites headquarters. It's been quite quiet considering.
It has.
You know, no chickens, no washing machines. An average week. But we do then have Alfred and the magic extraction of YouTube thumbnails, which was talked about last week, and I said I would demonstrate it. In fact, I think I did demonstrate it, but I didn't actually show you how to build it. I showed you how to use it. Now I'm going to show you how to build it. Then we've got the Microsoft Office Hub app for iPad OS, which means I'm endeavouring to share my iPad screen, which usually leads to at least 20 minutes of fun and games. I have tested this before we've started. So clearly it's never going to work, because it did before. And it can only work once in a day. Then Mike's surpassing himself. Not one function, not two, not three, but 4 functions in Excel. And then we're wrapping up the learning management system in Notion. And the unboxing isn't totally an unboxing because I've already unboxed it. But I'm going to show it to you. The unboxing wouldn't have been that exciting anyway. It's ever so tiny. But now I've tested it, you might be interested in it. So that's why I've put it there.
Can I just say not guilty?
What for?
In the chat, they're all talking about chats disappearing and are they in timeout? And no, nothing that I've done, nothing that you've done.
Nothing that I've done.
YouTube's having a moment.
YouTube's always having a moment. You should try YouTube if you really do want to play with your mind. I mean, it's worse than psychedelic drugs. If you want to really, really play with your mind, try YouTube on a Saturday morning. The chat's not there, then it comes back, then the video jumps. We often finish and it'll say 3 hours, 27 minutes. And then you'll go in about 3 hours, 21 minutes. Like, where did the other 6 minutes go? I think it plays it at different speeds and then comes back with different data. So that's why we don't put the timings up until it's settled down, which it usually has by Saturday afternoon. Right, make sure you're watching in 1080p. Type it in the chat. What's it done to you this week? Where are you, Mike?
Where am I?
Yes, Mike. Are you at 1080p?
Yes.
Hey, well done. I think the lowest we had last week was 480. I did have the pleasure of watching a video at 260 in the week. Pea soup fog. Anyway, we're broadcasting in 1080p, so make sure that you're set to 1080p. And while you're there, if you enjoy it, give us a like. Really does make a difference with YouTube. What did we get up to this week? Oh, Saturday. Saturday's chaotic here. We never stop. It was 9 show Saturday, so we're bang in the middle of 8 show, which is the least we do. And I think the most we've done was 11, wasn't it? So we need to get back up to the dizzying heights of 11. But this time there was 9. And we did Marooned, and then at 8 o'clock we all headed over to Brooklands by request, where this week the theme was Wales and all things Welsh, because it was St David's Day on Monday. It was really good, wasn't it?
It was.
It was not as tenuous as you might think, some of them. We really did enjoy that. And that's Conway Castle. I've never been there, you know. As I explained during the show last week, my abiding memory of my last visit to Wales was when Mike shot me. If you've not heard that one, you need to listen to the MacBites. Wasn't it Shooting Through 2018, that one? Yes. But I did make it this time to Sunday. Mike, a little bit on the nervous side, but I think he's getting used to it now. It was a 0-0 draw. United, how did they play, Mike? Or didn't you care as long as they won and they didn't?
But rubbish.
Rubbish. Okay.
Rubbish.
Well, while he was doing that, because it was quite late that, I was at my book club. I only have 2 more weeks left on my book club. And I did promise that the How to Take Smarts Notes one, I would give you the skinny on it. So I will probably in April, because obviously we've got Mad March to come. Which took us into the beginning of the week. And we started with a demise. That is Lola's football. I know it looks nothing like a football, but if you can imagine a football ripped to shreds, turned inside out, then it's a football. That's it from one side, and that's it from the other. We can't throw it away. It's her favourite. In fact, it was her big brother's. That was Maya's, and even Maya didn't leave it in that state, but she's a bit on the destructive side. So that's all that's left of her football. However, in a moment that can only be described as manna from heaven, she went out for a walk to the park. And look what she found. We've actually got... What's she up to? She up to mischief?
Yeah.
That's because I'm talking about her. What was I saying? Oh, yes, we've got video of this, and she was playing with it. That one's a bit tatty, but it's definitely way better than hers. And the next day, it was still there, so she's got her eye on it. It may be being rehomed very soon, we'll have to see. Which took us on to Tuesday. Tuesday was a very important day. In case you've forgotten, because it was a long time ago, wasn't it? Tuesday was the 2nd of March, which meant Kim 1 year in lockdown and a certificate to prove it. Round of applause for Kim, making it to the end of her first year. We are so very close to ours. Ours is tomorrow. 6th of March 2020, last day we went out. We'll have to put some pictures of that in next week, won't we? Because it was memorable. We went to a Catenian do and then went shopping. So the shopping was happening at 11:30 at night, because it was open 24 hours back then. And Mike had his full dinner jacket on with a dicky bow. Oh, you've got to get dressed up to go shopping, haven't you? Which took us to Wednesday. Poor Mike. It's been that kind of week. But, surely they'd do better. No, it seems 0-0 is the new thing. Do you know, this would probably never happen in American football, would it? Because there's so many different ways to get points and stuff. And basically, my view of that is that you play till somebody scores. Sadly, not here. So he was a bit grumpy last night when that happened. Well, not last night, then Wednesday. When that happened, he was grumpy. Which took us on to Thursday. I was quite excited. World Book Day. So as I shared in the marooned email, I do like my books. That's only my Audible books. I think we did a swift calculation last night, didn't we? It was something like on Kindle, I had 2,900 and something pages of books, which meant I needed to multiply that by 6, and that would give me, so basically thousands of books. I do like my books, and it was World Book Day, so I celebrated. In fact, I've listened to my books every day, I think for 4 months now. I'm trying to get a run going, which took us through to Friday. Madam was having fun. She went to the park, met a rescue dog. Mike, subtle as ever. Oh, what's your dog called? Lola. Another Lola. As you can see from that, the other Lola, very, very keen to get to our Lola. Lola, less so. She literally turned her back on this poor dog, who was so excited, thought it had got a friend. Lola didn't want to know, little madam. Which took us to our Tesco delivery tonight. Wasn't he half an hour early?
He was.
And he didn't ring or anything. But this is what happens when it's not Wendy. And it's two-show Friday, so let's get on with it. I can't see the chat at the minute, I will be able to shortly, but I can't right now. Michael, relay anything that's on fire. Right, YouTube thumbnails. Right, when a video creator uploads a video to YouTube, you've got a couple of options. Years ago, the only option you had was to choose between 4 still images that YouTube picked at random, and sometimes they were awful, really bad. But if your account is authorised, so if you are authenticated as being you are a verified person, you can upload your own thumbnails, and that's what a lot of creatives do. So coming up, we've got Mad March, so I've got the Export Persona one, and there's the Mastering Blown Modes one. So they are created offline and then uploaded onto YouTube. It's one of the things that if you were to watch some videos about optimizing your YouTube channel, they would say to you. So if you look at those, it's very clear it's me. My name's down the side, but it's also very clear which application it is, because the Affinity Photo one is the 2 colours of Affinity Photo. So those are the 2 colours that are used on the icon. And that one, they're the 2 colours that are used on the designer icon. So it might look like they don't match, but there's method to my madness. It's also a good idea to make sure that you can read what it is. Many, many, many people, because this is another thing, let me know what you think of this, because I know what I think of it. Many people recommend that you put a picture of you on it as well. Why? Who cares who's delivering the video, as long as what the video is about is bang on point and useful. So to me, the title's the most important thing. But a lot of people do put pictures of themselves on it. Even true crimers. You'll have a true crimer sat there in the middle of a thumbnail between Brady and Hindley. And I can't get my head around that. I can see that as being useful. But that's what some people do. But my rationale for the thumbnails is that it's me, because the name's on the left. It's always on the left. You know what application it is, even though I don't use the icon because of the colours. And the title of the video is clear, and you know exactly what you're getting. Right, what we were talking about using them for, and although the first couple of examples, not YouTube videos, but when we were creating the learning management system, each one of those is a video, and each one has its own thumbnail. Now, they are all the same kind of thumbnails with different words on them, as are the next ones that we used, but it is just handy to have something that visually represents it. If it was a YouTube thing, if we were going to do a page for Mad March, then we're looking at something like that. So they are different, but similar enough that you can see they're probably part of a series or they're from me. But how do you get those thumbnails from there into whatever system you are using? And that is where Alfred came in. And I had a quick look when we were talking about it. Could have been Sunday last week. And I couldn't find the workflow because I said, well, I'll export it and share it with you. And I couldn't find the workflow. That would be because it wasn't a workflow. It's always one and it's usually me. I have, however, worked out how I did it. So I will show you now how I did that. Now, the way that I've done it is using an Alfred feature, which I can't, because I've got the power pack, I can't check if you get this feature if you don't have the power pack. But if you don't have the power pack, when I explain what it is, whip in and have a look and see if you've got it. And if you have, let me know. That would be awesome, because both Mike and I do have the power pack and I don't really want to deactivate it because that will cause all kinds of problems. So let's go in and have a look what it is and what you need to do to make it work. Right. So first of all, we need Alfred. So if you've got Alfred installed and you type Alf, then when you press enter, you'll get taken into the preferences. Helpfully opened up on the wrong screen, but never mind. There we go, Alfred. So there's a lot going on in Alfred, as you can see. The initial bit, which is the most important bit for you to set up, is how do you want Alfred to run? And the way I want to run it is by using exactly the same key as I would if I was using the settings for Spotlight. So I want to use Command and Space. To do that, I have to turn off that key for Spotlight, which is what I've done. Right, then down here you've got features, and there are a lot of features. So there's the default search results, snippets, calculator, you name it. All of these are independent features within Alfred. A lot of people bypass that lot entirely and go straight to workflows, and I've got lots and lots and lots of workflows. In fact, within some of the workflows, I've got lots of things within the workflows as well. So obviously what I was looking for was, oh yeah, how did I make that work? Thinking it was in here, but it wasn't. So we need to head back to features. And in here we have web search as an option. And what this enables us to do, some of these are built in, so that mainly the ones at the bottom here, all of these are built in. So if you wanted to search LinkedIn for me, that's already there. All you would need to do is bring Alfred up and put LinkedIn and then me. And technically speaking, that should come up with me. Watch it come up with somebody else now. No, you wouldn't, would you? You're going to bring me up. There we go. There I am. No, I don't need messages. There you go. I come up top. I wonder who that second person is. Oh, there's so many. That's not good. But there you go. So you can do that straight from Alfred. That's just one of the things you can do. You could search Twitter, Amazon. Now, one of the things I did with the Amazon one was initially when you install it, it's amazon.com. And that is useless to me. So if I go and put Amazon and press enter after I've put AMA. So as soon as you've got enough of a letter, just press enter. And then you can search for something. So let me put in there, Kim. That's genius. I'm going to click show on that one.
I was just about to do that.
Oh, Kim. She says I'm lucky she has a porn star with her name. That's not good. That's not good. No, I am lucky. I am lucky. Mum was very wise and picked a name that isn't that common. There was another one in the UK. She used to work for Portsmouth Football Club. She was the ticket office lady, the manager of the ticket office. And then there was this huge thing all over the internet when she retired. I think she'd only been retired a couple of years and then she died. And I was like, oh, I'd never met the woman, spoken to the woman. I'm like, oh no. So now I think there's only the H one. Right, so what I did with the Amazon one to make sure that that worked was I changed it so it would search for .co.uk. So what shall we look for on Amazon? How about an iMac? I'll regret this, but there we go. Oh, I could buy another one while I'm here. But you can see it is actually searching .co.uk. So how did I make that work? And that is, each of these can be edited and you can create your own. Okay. So this one here, why are you no opening? Is that because it's locked? Not responding at all. That's not helpful. We'll use one of mine. Right, what I've done here is you've got this thumbnail one. And that's what's going to search for a thumbnail. So let's see it in action and then I'll show you how I actually built it. So I am going to YouTube, because I need to get a link to one of my videos, don't I? Because it won't work very well if it's not one of my videos. Can I get to my channel? That'll help. Right, let's bring this on. So, right, every video in here has a link to the actual video. So this is the channel. So let's say we wanted the poster for the export persona video. Right, first thing to do, click on that to open it in another window. As you can see, it's going live in 41 hours. Think I'll be ready by then, Mike? Right, and there's two people waiting, one of which is me. I think the other one's probably Jonathan, just to make sure he doesn't miss the start. Right, what you need to do to make this work, it's all to do with this URL at the top. You could take that URL. So I've just copied that, the entire URL. Then you could go in here and you could put in there YouTube thumbnail. And that would give you a range of sites that would let you download a thumbnail from YouTube. None of which are coming up. Maybe I need to put the word download in. Because we did this, and some were good and some not so much so. This is one that I've used for quite a while, but apparently there were adverts on it, which I wasn't seeing. But I was in Firefox, and at the moment I'm in Chrome. So here's a couple of them. So this one here, you just put in your YouTube URL, and you hit submit. And that gives you all of the posters in all of the sizes. And all you would need to do to get this one is click on it, and there it is. And I could then download that from there. So what I do with it is I pull it down into my drop shelf, and that's it. I've got a copy of it and I can do what I want with it from there. But you could just drag it onto the desktop or right click and save the image as. It doesn't matter. Right? You've got to it. Now this is another way of doing it.
Sarah wants to know, how do you get the Alfred search thing up without clicking on it in the toolbar?
The input window.
I'm assuming that's what she's talking about.
I will show you that when we get back to Alfred. It was literally just what I showed you before. So I'm going to paste in the same URL, hit on get thumbnail, and there's all the thumbnails at the bottom. So I'm going to hit that one again. So you see you can download it just by hitting on the download button, and it will download that thumbnail. So it's downloaded it, not giving it the very best of names. It's used the video reference, which ends in AWS, and it's tagged on HD because that's the HD version. Right, so that's a few ways to do it. What we need to do is use the information from there, and then we can build our Alfred solution. So I'm going to get that out of the way. Right, how you get that up without clicking anything in the toolbar is this Alfred hotkey. So I just press Command and space and it brings up Alfred, and it will keep the last search. I think it's for 30 seconds or 90 seconds, something like that. So all you need to do is to go into Alfred, go into General, and under the Alfred hotkey, just click in there and type whatever you would like to be the hotkey. Some people choose, it used to be Option many moons ago. That was what Quicksilver used. But I like to keep mine to Command and space because I never use Spotlight. And when I'm on another Mac that doesn't have Alfred on it, then the same key works and will bring up Spotlight. So it's just a little bit easier. So that's how you do it. You just put the key in there you want to use, and then that will always bring up Alfred. Okay, so in our features and in our web search, this is the thumb thing here that I've built. So I'll go in there and we can have a look at it. Now, all it is one search string. That's it. But where did that come from? How would you know to put that in it? And how you know what to put in there is if we go back to how we found it. This one was a direct download, so that doesn't particularly help us. But this one here that returned these, when we click on each one of these, it actually shows you the source URL for that image. So it's img for images.youtube.com, because that's where it's stored, /vi, and I presume vi means video image, / and then there's another bit which is this bit, and that is unique to each video. So the export persona reference on YouTube, that's it. And then at the end it has /max res default, which means the biggest image. And the biggest image you can upload there, I think the limit is 5 meg. So with that as a string, if you copy that and you then go into Alfred, you can see that all I've done is replace that with that little bit there that says query. So the rest of that URL is identical, but the bit that's unique to each individual poster frame, which would be a number, a string of characters to represent that video, I've changed that. The word you would actually use is parameterized it, which is far more complicated. All you mean is I'm going to give you this reference at the point of using this search. I won't know what it is right at this second, but I will do when I come to search for it. So I parameterize it by putting query in. Now, you don't then specify that anywhere in this dialog box. You will give it that piece of information at runtime. Then I put a title in for it, which obviously is just something descriptive of what it actually does. And if we bring it up by typing in thumb, you can see YouTube thumbnails is the title here. The keyword that brings it up is thumb. So if I type thumb in, I'm ready then to give it the reference that I want, the video reference. So thumb is the keyword to make it active. And then it says validation. Now, it needs to have something in there to prove it works, etc. But to be honest, this is so simple, I just leave it set the way it was. So what will happen is I'll type the word thumb and then I will paste the reference for the video. And when I press enter, it will just go off and find that. Now, before I actually use it, I've also got some others in here like Tesco. They work exactly the same way. It's the search result for Tesco, all of this, search box equals, and then if you look at what's after that, I just put in query. And all I'm saying to it is, whatever I type in after the word Tesco, take the URL from the top box, add my text to it, and go find it. It's that simple. So if I wanted to look at tea bags at Tesco's, all I do is put Tesco's in as the keyword, tell it what I want to find, it goes away, and I don't actually have to waste time going and finding a web browser, opening it up, going to tescos.com, bypassing the 50 million adverts on the first page and finding the search box, by which point I'll have forgotten it was tea bags I was looking for, and then type tea bags in. It's just way quicker. So that's what I do all the time. Why Mike hasn't set that up, I don't know, but you won't have done, will you?
No.
No, he's not going to admit that he's done that. He's not done that. Okay, so that's how it works. Now, back to our thumbnails example. So, command space to bring up Alfred. Type in the keyword, which is thumb. Or even, as soon as you get enough in there, so it's starting to narrow down. So once I've got 3 characters in, if I just press enter, it will fill in the rest of the keyword. And then it stops and it waits for me to put in the search string. Now that's too much. What I actually need to do is, let's go back to over here and we'll get a different one. We'll choose one of these, like working with colour in Affinity Photo. Right. The bit we're looking at in here, Oh dear, I can hear myself. And that's never good, is it? Right, the bit we're looking for is youtube.com/watch ? And then you've got V equals. V equals, which is there. That's the video reference. They never even used to put AB channel on it. I've got no idea why they bother, but they do. So it's that bit there that we need. Unless it's hyphenated, you can actually just double click on that. So from wherever you are, you can go in there and double click on it and it will pick just that bit. Command and C, and get that out of the way. So bring that up again, paste in the video reference and press enter. And what you're actually now looking at is the poster. Now, why is that different than putting in the URL and all of that? And it's because I've cut out the middleman. I don't have to go to this website and then put the URL in there, click submit, get the results, and then find the result that I want. Because what it's going to do is bring me up that URL. So all I've done is cut out the need to go to one of these thumbnail save sites and just directly get there. There is my image. I drag and drop my image, put it on the desktop or wherever I want to put it. And that's it. I've got the image that I need. And then I would put that in to Notion or wherever I want to put it. But these are my video, the thumbnails here. So we'll put that on the desktop. We'll put that one on the desktop. Now that's a bit of an issue. It always calls them max res default. And the Shelf app isn't savvy enough to say, do you want to save this one as well? So that was the issue with that. But let me get that from the other one and drag and drop. Oh no, we've got that one. Hang on, it was the other one we needed. There we go. If I drag and drop it, it should put a 1 on the end, and that way I can keep both. So how do you actually do that from scratch? Totally from scratch. So I'm going to add a custom search, and I'll call this YTT, YouTube thumbnail. Or does it not like that? YouTube. Oh, no. That's the search URL. Let's get it in here. YouTube thumbnail. That should be okay. Right, in fact, that's the title. So let's put YouTube thumbnail from video reference. So we know exactly what it is. The keyword I want to be YouTube thumbnail. And then I need to do this magic bit up here, which is as simple as this. That's the URL for one of them. So I copy it. I go up to there and I paste it in, but that won't work because it's not parameterized. But that little bit there, that's the video URL. So I swap that out for an Alfred query, which is curly bracket, query, close curly bracket, and that's it. So if you use any site that you look at the URL and you can see how it works, there's a bit in there that's the bit you've typed in, then you can create one of these for it and make life much, much easier. So just to prove that that works, we'll save it and we'll go do it. So YouTube thumbnail, and it says YouTube thumbnail from video ref. Awesome. We just need a video ref then. That's the whole thing. We don't need that. Let me go get just a reference from a video. So in there, YTT, paste in the reference, press enter, takes you out. The only time that you would have a problem with that is if the video does not have a full quality image. And sometimes they don't. Most of the time they do, to be honest, but just sometimes they don't. Right. I'm catching up with the chat. Everybody's enjoying Kim's doppelganger. Oh, dear me. Okay. How do you know what part of the URL to use? Right, well, in YouTube, in this one, it's pretty obvious because the rest of it, what I would do is do a search for like 3 or 4 posters, and then I would compare the URLs. And that's how I worked out that VI was a constant. It was there all the time. So it was that bit that was just the reference. With the Tesco thing, you literally just look at the URL. So Tesco's and our tea bags. When you look at the URL, it actually says all of this here makes perfect sense. Search, question mark, query equals, and the bit that I typed in, you're looking for the bit that you typed in, right? Which in this case was tea bags. If I change that to coffee, it would show me coffee. So I query, if you will, each query that I type in. So whichever site it is, whether it's Amazon or eBay or any of those, you're looking for the bit that says like either question mark equals or query equals or something like that. But basically look in the URL for the bit you typed in. And once you've got that, that's the bit that you turn into a parameter. And you do that by using the curly brackets and the word you typed in. So looks like Sarah's got that sorted out. Excellent. Like I said, the only time that that will come up and there won't be a result is if they haven't provided a full quality image, in which case you could have a fallback and get it to get the next one. Now, how would you do that? Right, let's go back to, did we have this open? We did, it's over there. Right, this one here. When we put something in there, it needs a full URL. So first thing I'm looking to do with that is get a URL. So there's a full URL. And I would go in here and I would put that in and submit it. Now, I know that there is the 1080p version. So that's the one that I'm looking for. But if somebody has only put in a 720 or a 480, right, so I'm going to click and open that in two different tabs. To do that, I'm holding down the command key. All you need to do to add that into Alfred is look at what you've got here. And the difference is this standard definition word at the end. And this one, which is high quality and default. So all you would do with that is to create some options. So let's say, should we take this 640 one? I would copy that and get back into Alfred. Let's lose the coffee and the Tesco thing. Right. So we've got our YouTube one, which I called Thumb. We've got this one down here. I'm going to edit this one. Right, so this one I'm going to call 640, wasn't it? Let's say this is YouTube 640. So that's the keyword that I want. And I'm going to get rid of this and say exactly what it does. So this is a YouTube 640 pixel thumbnail. I've copied this up there, so I have the full URL, and I know that this bit is the video reference. So curly bracket, query, curly bracket, and save. And then bring up YouTube 640 and put in my video reference. So I'm going to get a video reference, put that in there and press enter. And what comes up in my browser over there is a different image. It's the standard definition one, and I can tell the difference because it's got the black stripe at the top and bottom. So that gives you a fallback if you find that, I mean, it's very infrequent now, somebody doesn't bother to put up a full resolution thumbnail because it's a promotional device. Most people would do that. So that is as simple as that. And if you wanted then the next one down and the next one down, you can do that. I only have the one. If I find I'm looking for a thumbnail and that one isn't there, then I'll probably go and do it a different way because I want something that's the right size. But that's how it works. So let me have a look at the chat. Is everybody following along with that? Chrome, I think I've got that opening. I do. You're there. Excellent. Hello, Peter. Good to have you with us. And hello, Dee. Yep, it looks like you're all sorted. And Jonathan loves Twining's tea. I must admit, I do. English breakfast, but very weak. Although I do quite like raspberry. Raspberry's nice as well. So as you can see here, I've done this with many of them. There's an anagram solver that I've got, so if I put in an anagram, it will give me the solution to it. That's very handy for Countdown. I won't do that as a demo. I'll only spell it wrong. One I used to use for App Shopper, which I think have gone kaput now. Asda does exactly the same as Tesco. Audible's quite handy. Audible's down the bottom there. So if I want to put in there, we were talking about John Grisham, weren't we? Let's look up John Grisham books. And there it is. You see how many's in the wish list? I wait until they come on offer. There we go. So it just enables me to get somewhere that I want to get very, very quickly without having to be concerned about it. Dunelm is one that takes me back to my mother. Oh, she loved Dunelm. It's like homeware. Think Pottery Barn. So I had that there. Like, she liked the poppy plates from there. So I'd bring that up, type in poppy plate. Oh dear. Have they changed how they search? Maybe they just need... Let's have a look. Poppy or plate. No, they've changed how they search. So this is what happens if that... This is what you would do if that happens. If I type in poppy in here... These are the mugs that my mum had. Right, that's the query up there. So I'm going to go to Alfred and find out what's gone wrong in Alfred. So have they changed the query string? They have. So what used to be the query, this has been here since before my mum died, so 2012. They've changed the query. It is no longer /query. So what I would do with that is paste it in. They've now gone for $Q equals. Only we want to make that generic. So I'll put in there query and save. So all I've done is update that. So if I go in there and put poppy now, it takes you straight to it. Those were my mum's favourites. I think we've got about 900 of them, haven't we, Mike?
We have.
I think that was known as the breakfast cup because there was a breakfast mug as well. And the whole set, she's got the whole set. We've got all of these. That's the breakfast mug towards the bottom. That's huge. That's the one that you've sometimes seen on my table. But she just loved poppies. Absolutely loved them. Look at this. Poppy tablecloth reduced from £10 to £3. Oh, she'd be there, trust me. We've got all of these. Even didn't we get some pasta bowls, even though we don't eat pasta? And we've got the teapot, the tea bag pot. We've got all of these, I'm telling you, everything. There's a rice bowl. We've got those as well. I'm glad they're still going. Oh, and the trays. We've got about 20 of the trays as well. I think we've got the jug, but I don't think we've got the teapot or the coffee pot, these things. But other than that, she's got the lot, all of them. So that's why I created it. But as you can see, over time, the query might change. But it's very, very simple to fix it and update it. So what else did I have in here? Envato Elements, if I want to search them. EP guides I'm at all the time. So what I would do if I'm looking for something, like an episode of NCIS or something, is just put EPG and it takes me straight out to the episode guides. And I can find the episode and then look it up and think, okay, I'm actually at the moment I think I'm in the dark. I'm watching from the start again, and I'm loving season 4. But I think we are up to quite a way, isn't it? 18. Season 18. Yeah, so I'm a little bit behind at the moment. But I've basically started watching it again. So that's another one that I use quite a lot. And it's just easier than actually typing it. Hang on, where are we going? Let's get rid of that. Mac Update, when I'm looking for things on Mac Update. You can even search for things on MacBites. So I created my own. It's got the old icon on it. Could do with updating that. But to search on the MacBites website, I go to MB. Now, I've got more than search MacBites because obviously I've got MacBites folders as well. But the one at the bottom is the one that I'm looking for. And let's say we're looking for thongs on the MacBites website. That takes you out. And these are all the episodes where thongs were mentioned, including the MacBites story, which could be the one. It could be where Mike is. Oh, it's not. It's not. It must be on the blog, that one. But all of those, it was mentioned, and I do believe there is a blog post about it. I don't know why that's not there. I could search for Jane instead, couldn't I? Just whip in there, because it was Jane that sent them. If I could spell Jane. Oh, it's in here somewhere. I was going to show you the picture, but if it doesn't come up as an option, maybe it's on the blog. Maybe it's not on the blog. Maybe I need to go find it because it doesn't look like it is. But we do have thongs available on there. So that's a MacBites one. What else have we got in there? Pixabay. So when I'm desperately running late, as I am most of the time, I can do Pix, press enter, and then put in what I'm looking for. So maybe I'm looking for a computer. And it will bring up Pixabay and it will put that in. And if you look at the search at the top, all I'm doing is putting my query instead of that word there. And then when I put the word that I'm looking for, it brings back the results. So you're not limited with this to just one or two things. You can use this to sort of across the board. Do you add the icons? I do. So the MacBites one, for instance, that is old, I'd need to get the MacBites branding, wouldn't I? I know exactly where I can find an old one of those, which would be in Notion. So this is a smallish one, but I've got assets in icons, and we have all of the MacBites ones. So that's actually the right one. So how you do that, you bring up your custom search. All you need to do is drop it in that well. So if I drag this new one in there, because that's the old MacBites logo, that changes it to the new one, save it, and when I bring up MacBites, it's got the new icon straight away, and then I just type in what I'm looking for. If only I could remember. I wonder if Australia would bring it up, because these things came from Australia. Oh, it's in there somewhere, I'm telling you. I will threaten that with you that another day. There's Jane. Yay! So yeah, you can put an icon in there as well, and it's very, very easy to change it. I have put a few others in. Many of these are there to start with, so things like eBay, etc. They are all there to start with, and you can do what you will with them. So there is actually already built in a search for YouTube. So I could actually search YouTube for, put my name in, and it brings up all the videos. And somebody else called Elaine Giles. Who is this woman? That's not me. That is not me. But you can see there's all the other videos of mine, which are indeed me. So you can search for either a person or a video. So let's get rid of that and put in, how about export persona? And see how well we're doing or not. Bearing in mind we've not actually broadcast yet. But we're still there, even though we've not broadcast yet. We're on the home page, front page, which is jolly good. So you can search for a topic, an application, a particular person, anything you like. And what it's doing up here is, again, just look at the syntax and you'll soon get used to this. The results, question mark, search query equals, and that's the bit I typed in. Just replace that with query. Does she, Dee? Good grief. Who is this woman? Oh. I'm glad you're finding it useful, Tony. I'm going to have to be very careful with this woman. Right. So, any questions on that? That's just using one of the built-in features of Alfred. I can't remember whether customising those is part of the power pack. That's the only thing that I don't know. But if you don't have the power pack, and you can do that, let me know. Then we'll know that you can. If there's some of these that you are never, ever, ever, ever going to use, and you never, ever, ever want to see them, like rotten tomatoes, then you just take the tick out. And that will stop it showing. So I could type in, and nothing comes up apart from search Google, search Amazon, search Wikipedia, which are my default fallbacks. But if I put a tick in the box down here and typed that, then the others would disappear, the fallback, the defaults, and search Rotten Tomatoes for would be then available. Dee, don't worry, she's only got 300 subscribers, you're winning the battle. I'm sure she'll have more. I think she's new. So you can flick them on and off from here. So some of these I actually turn off. I mean, I'm not going to ask Yahoo for anything. or Flickr. I'm not. Wolfram Alpha, no. So I turned some of them off. In fact, I turned off Apple Maps, because if I'm putting a map query in, I will put it in to Google Maps. So I just type maps, and it says search Google Maps for, and then if I put Old Trafford, it will open up Google Maps. It will put that in as the query, and there is Mike's spiritual home. You'll notice temporarily closed. Mind you know what is on here, don't you, Mike? Let's move that a smidgen. Smidgy. There. Right, that's Old Trafford up there. But down there, that's the last shop we did. That's the shop we went to on the 6th of March. It's a year tomorrow since we actually left the house. And that was where we went.
Did you know?
Go on.
You can now have a sensory tour of Old Trafford.
What's a sensory tour?
Don't ask, John. Just click the link in the email you would have got earlier.
Oh dear. Do you know, I don't need to do a sensory...
It's aimed at children.
Right. Okay.
It's like it's as if you're
like a baby sensory class.
It's as if you're in kindergarten.
Sometimes there are no words.
Yeah.
Yes, fair enough. I've done the real tour of Old Trafford. Oh, many, many times. I remember Old Trafford when it was about half the size of that. So absolutely. Didn't there used to be over there where the Alex Ferguson stand is? There was light industrial stuff, wasn't there?
Mm.
You could see people working. About all of that bit there. That used to be light industrial stuff, and they just extended the ground that way. So that's Alfred and how to deal with YouTube thumbnails, but also a lot more than that, because you can do your own. Do your own like that. Okay, let me get this out of the way so I can see the chat. Is there any more questions?
I don't think there was.
I'm loving that from D. I'm loving Apple Maps on the iPad, but so inaccurate. Yes, that's our problem.
I never use it.
No, I don't. I use... What was interesting was when I was using Apple Maps, well, I wasn't actually, I was using Apple Contacts. My contacts were in iCloud. It was great to be able to say, show me the directions to Fred's house. That was awesome. Didn't work in Google Maps. And that really peeved me because I thought Google Maps was much better overall. So, fast forward about a year, and I decided I was going to move my contacts to Google. Now, if I say to Apple Maps, show me the way to Fred's house, it doesn't know what I'm talking about, but Google does, because my contacts are in Google. So I've got the best of both worlds now. Okay, excellent. That was a question that came out of a different demo. So if there's anything that you see that you have a question about, do let me know. And we can go have a look at it. But now, iPad time. I wanted to just... Why is that not moving? Oh, don't do that to me. We need to move on to that. That is the query for YouTube images. So it's https://:/img, which is the images domain of .youtube.com. I think the /vi means video images, but I could be wrong. But the query bit goes between the slash after the vi and the slash before the maxres default. But remember that if it doesn't have a big image, you'll get nothing returned. So if you want to have a fallback, you could then put a new query in and say standard definition and do it that way. Okay, Microsoft Office Hub app for iPad. And again, this was a request. Right, what it actually is. Obviously, we've all heard of Office 365, which is no longer. It's now Microsoft 365. But as far as it's quite strange in that, where's my mouse gone again? Oh, it's doing weird dancey things, my mouse. Right, that's better. Rather than say, Office has gone and now it's Microsoft 365, we still have this concept of Office, and it's resurfaced as a hub app for iOS. It's been on the phone for at least a year, but the problem with it on the phone was if you wanted it on the iPad where, hey, it would be way more useful. One, it wasn't there. And two, if you were trying to put it there, you'd have to do it at 2 times. So a couple of weeks back, they brought out the dedicated version for iPad. Now, what is it? And it's quite strange because it's an application that's a hub application that does 2 distinct things. One, it includes 3 of the Office apps. Actually built into the Office app is Word, Excel and PowerPoint. They are identical to the separate applications that you can download from the App Store. So why would you download them separate versus one? Maybe you'd prefer to download just one app. The option still remains for you to have Word, Excel and PowerPoint as separate applications, and you can have them in the Office app. So you don't have to choose, you can have them both ways. It's completely up to you. The way of having them separate as Word, Excel and PowerPoint is pretty much the way that we've always done this. I go back that far. I had computers that couldn't run 2 applications at the same time. You had to load them in off a cassette tape. If you changed your mind halfway through, it was a 20-minute job to get the other application up. But you know what? Your focus was amazing. You didn't make a mistake. You couldn't afford to waste the time.
And the screeches in the background.
And the screeches, it was fantastic. But Word, Excel and PowerPoint can still be downloaded separately. And it's the more traditional way of working where you think, I want to write a letter, I will open Word. Or I want to put in my expenses, I will open Excel. Or in my case, I need to work on that presentation, I will open PowerPoint. It presupposes you know exactly what you want to do. And what you want to do is work with an application or within an application to do something that that application is dedicated to do. That's basically it. Right, what I'm going to do at this point is actually show you the application, and then we'll come back in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and out. We've got some slides that say on them each individual thing that you can do in here, and I'm going to put those slides up so we can get jump off points later in the video to make it easy if you want to go back and look at just one thing. So let's go have a look at it. Yeah, everything permitting. Fingers crossed. Right, mirror screen, because that went so well last time, didn't it? Fingers crossed, still thinking about it. And there it is. Awesome. Right, the app in question is in 2 places on here. It is in the bottom row. Oh, she's snoring again. Have you heard her? Doing this with a snoring dog next to me. Honestly, Lola. Right, it's in the bottom row, underneath print to size and next to craft. It's also, because I've used it lately, in the tray at the bottom. Now, just to prove the point that I do actually have all of the Office apps installed, there they are in my Office apps folder with all of my other stuff. So they are still installed, Word, Excel and PowerPoint, all there. There's also other apps that are installed, like Office Lens, which is the one 2nd row up on the right-hand side. So they are all still installed. But so is this one at the bottom, which is actually the Office app. So I'm going to go to the Home tab, and this is what you would see when you go into it. So what we're looking at is recent files that I have worked on. Now, some of those are true and some a little bit less so. But it's fairly accurate. So it assumes in here that you are less interested in which application you're going to use and more interested in what the job is you're going to do. So it's task focused. So by showing you the recent files, it's automatically saying to you, you probably want to pick up where you left off. And that would enable me to just tap on one of these files, like Weekend Break, and boom, it opens it. Doesn't look as good on the iPad as it is on the desktop. Font looks a bit weird, but never mind. And it will open that up in whichever application is best for that file. And obviously, this started life in Word, so it's opened it in Word. And there's the actual file itself. We have a question. Out of curiosity, what is the Universalis app? You like the icon style? The Universalis, believe it or not, is a missal. It's a Catholic missal that you use at Mass. So you open that up. Let's move to today. And that is the mass for today. You literally, this is just fabulous. I love this at mass. So I take my iPad and I look at my iPad and people give me the real daggers because they think that I'm like looking at Facebook, and I'm not. It's actually the words of the mass. It's a very, very good app. Okay, so that took us into Word, from where you can do everything that you could do with the standalone version of Word. It's just that you don't have to think, was that a Word file? Was it this file? What kind of file was it? It's task focused, this. So this is one level of the interface. So this is the recent bit. You can also tap on shared with me and you can see nobody loves me because they're not shared any files with me. That's because I don't like sharing files on OneDrive. It doesn't work in the way my brain does. Right, the next bit down, you have the actions, and this is where it really starts to diverge from all of the others. Dee says an iPad in mass, I couldn't stand the stairs. Oh, I know. If you want to meet some hypocrites, go to mass. There I am actually looking at it and reading it and probably paying more attention than they are because they're watching me. Do you know what I did, Dee? I actually got myself a different iPad cover so it looked like a book. I spent money to stop them judging me. That's bad news, that really is. So this bit's actions, and this is where this comes into its own. So I'm going to come back to actions, but that's just where they are. The bottom option is actually your file systems, and this can be more than just OneDrive. As you can see, at the top I have my personal OneDrive. That is actually my Office 365 account, my Microsoft 365 account. But below that, I also have Roseway Giles, which is my company, and that's on an E3 enterprise license. And I have my own OneDrive on there, and I have a SitePoint thing, SharePoint thing. Mike looks after that. Nothing to do with me. But I do use Dropbox, much more than I use OneDrive. And I have been able at the bottom where it says other storage, you can actually add in storage accounts from anywhere. So the majority of my stuff is actually in Dropbox. So I've hooked a Dropbox in there and I can actually get to all of my Dropbox data in exactly the same way as I can get to my OneDrive data, which I think is very, very good. Right, down the bottom you have a 9-dot menu, and that is showing you the other available applications. Now, this is where it's a bit odd because Word, Excel and PowerPoint are actually built into this, but from this page you can actually get to the home pages of all of those apps, and if you don't have them installed, like I don't have Edge installed on here, I don't have Skype installed or Visio, I can just tap the get and it will take me out and it will let me download them. So really this is just a quick way to get all of the other apps installed. But why it feels a bit strange is, why have you got this app that includes Word, Excel and PowerPoint? And I go into it and you're saying to me, why don't you download Word, Excel and PowerPoint? That's a bit weird, but it's there. That's Microsoft for you. And then at the bottom, you have your settings where you've got your storage accounts and you can add accounts. So if we go into storage accounts, you could add another one. So you could add Box, you could add whatever you need in there. So those are the settings at the bottom. Right, so that's what we're working with. Let's see what we can actually do with it. I'm just wondering about this. I don't think this is going to go as smoothly as I would have liked it to go. What happens if I do that? Yes, it's not going to go as smoothly as I would like it to go at all, because this is on the screen then, you see. I wonder if I can move it.
Tony says, is that downloading the apps into the 365 app?
No, it's not. It's actually downloading them outside it. So it's downloading them as independent apps. Right, I'm going to have to do it this way so we can see it all. So the interesting bit in here, the bit that's very different to everything else, is the groupings on the Actions menu. So I'm going to start off with the Share Files option and attempt to transfer a file. So what it's talking about here, let's see if I can get that back on there. Where have you disappeared to? There we go. Right, that was full screen, wasn't it? Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Window, can we do full screen? Do you know what? I'm just going to leave it like this. It'll make it easier to get in and out of. Right. We're looking at... No, what this means in here with these apps... Come on, move. It will actually download these or open them. So let's say we wanted Microsoft Edge. It will actually take us to the App Store and enable us to download Edge. The other way it was working, can we do that? No, I don't want to go back over. Oh, you're just not having it, are you? Never mind, let's go back into it. The other ones are if you already have it installed. So let's say I've already got PowerPoint installed. When I tap it, it opens PowerPoint, but this is the standalone version of PowerPoint. To me, that makes no sense. Can't fathom why it's doing that. It's handy to have the Office app and the standalone apps if you want to work side by side in an app that won't let you do that. But it's still a bit of a reach, isn't it? And when you're looking at that, I'm thinking, where am I? Am I actually in PowerPoint or am I in the Office app? Now, I'm in PowerPoint, and the way that you can tell is the third icon down on the left. So the top one's my avatar, then we've got the home bit, and then we've got a plus icon. But if we go into the Office app, instead of the plus icon, we've got the ... the 4 squared ones. Oh, Graham says he switched from Dropbox to OneDrive, but it's very fussy about characters in file names. I think that's because it needs to have complete compatibility with Windows, doesn't it? And Windows is a bit sniffy when it comes to, like, you can't have a question mark in it. So some of the things that the Mac will let you do, Windows won't. So that's probably why. Tony was thinking I could lose all the other apps on the iPad, and you think that would have been better. Well, it wouldn't do you any good if you were trying to read a Word file and take notes in OneNote, unless they could go side by side being part of this hub app. If they could, then yeah, I agree with you. You could do with a lot less icons. Maybe that's what they're going to work on moving forward. But at the moment, there's only the 3 apps. And the actions, which is what we're looking at. So the first one we're going to have a look at is transferring files. So you can send and you can receive. You need to make your mind up at this point what you're actually trying to do, because you need to press one of these buttons. Now, you'll also read the instructions there. Go to transfer.office.com on the computer. Okay. So I've got Chrome open on here. We'll bring that on, but just so you can see a little bit behind it there. All right. So what I need to do in here is go to transfer.office.com and press enter. Let's try and get these side by side so you can at least see a little bit. But let's get this out of the way while we have a look at this one. Right. That's what you see when you go to office.com. So it's now saying on your phone, but obviously it's now available on iPad. You tap and it's taking you through doing what we've already decided that we're going to do. But this is giving you the QR code to do it with. So we're definitely going to need to see that bit at the same time as we see the other bit. So I'll try and leave it there and hope that we can see everything when I bring this back on. So we need to see both sides of this. Right, so I need to choose whether I'm sending or receiving. So I'm going to tap send. And that brings up this. And there's my computer. Whee! So I need to put that over there. And that's it. It's got it. It says it's found the computer. And if the code matches that, which it does, then I need to hit pair on the computer. Awesome. Also need to hit pair on the iPad. So I've done it on both sides. And now we've got a location. So remember I said send. So I'm going to go into documents. That won't help, will it, if I do it with the mouse? Right, this is a file that I put on here while I was trying to eat my dinner as well, I think. Right, so I'm going to pick that file. And at the bottom, it says transfer to PC. It does include Mac. So we'll hit transfer there. And that's it, sent it. And if we look over here, it says received. So although we can't see that too well, let's bring this back and widen it. Oh, this is so tricky to demonstrate. It's not difficult to do. It's difficult to demonstrate when you can't see it all. But it's received it. So from there, you can see there it is at the bottom. And if I hit that, it will open it. It will open it in Word. And there's a file that we're going to be working on shortly, and there's the file. So I've actually transferred that. Do you need to pair each time you transfer? Oh, Paul, excellent question. Yes, it's a pain. Yes, you do. I would say the feature itself is more of a kind of, it's there in an emergency rather than something that you would be doing all the time. If you leave this open, then it is saying it's connected, although it's saying it's a phone and it's not, it's an iPad. I would say it's more of an emergency, like you're at a client and you need to get it to them, but you'd probably email it. Other than that, I think your files would be in the cloud, but the option's there and it does work. So you can send it either way. And you can then send as many as you like. So that's the first option, which is transferring the files through that option there. It does work, only up to 30 meg. It's fairly fast. The thing that takes the most time, as Paul has twigged, is you've got to pair it each time, which does seem a bit ridiculous, but that's what's happening. Right, can I maybe do that? This might work. Whee, that's working. Okay, so we've done the transfer. What we're now going to move into is getting an image and converting it to text. This is going to be really fun, this. I did have a magazine, but you know, you're working on your desk and you're thinking about the light and how well will it cope. Let's find out. Let's find out how well it copes. So image to text this time. Right, we need a server. There we go. So I'm going to move back to where we were. This is where you get to disconnect. As soon as you've disconnected, that's it. If you wanted to transfer anything again, you would have to reconnect. But we're going down on the options in here. So we're working with now two options that we have for converting text in images. So Tony says Dropbox share file, in other words. Dropbox is by far the better way to go. Easier to connect to the Files app and link it to OneDrive. Totally agree. There are a million better ways to do it than that. I would say that is an emergency thing. And if maybe you've got a new device, you haven't got it set up properly or something like that, that is not something that I would be doing on a regular basis. It's just too clunky. But it's an option. So we've moved down and we're looking at converting text in images. Right. I have... and I've run this through it. It didn't do bad on one occasion. Just depends. Now, you can do it in two ways. Right. The first way you can do it is that you actually have an image on your device that you've taken a photo of. Could be a document, could be something you've tried to scan, could be something on a wall. It doesn't matter. The other way to do it is live, where you're going to take a photo of something that has text in it and you're going to try and convert it to text while we're at it. Let's try that one, hey? Because, you know, not got enough jeopardy at the moment. Right, I've got a magazine in front of me and I'm going to hover over that and see if it can find it. But I want basically that paragraph. So hover over it and take the screenshot. And it comes up with that, which is absolutely shocking. Oh dear, that's bad. It's the wrong way round as well. And I don't know. I know what I would do with that, but it's on its side. That's not good. Let's try that again. I don't want to get too far away from it. And I don't want it to rotate it, and it wants to rotate it. So I'll tell you what. I'm working at an odd angle. It could be me. Let's rotate the thing itself and take that. Right, that's not bad, is it? Okay. Now, when I say it's not bad, it's not great either. It's okay. But what you can do with this, and this one's really nice because my finger is on the X, but you can see at the top you've got this circle. So I'm going to take that there, and what I'm doing is drawing around the bit I would like it to recognise. And this is nice and smooth. And the better I make this selection here in terms of the shape, the better it will do when it comes to recognising the text. So I am moving that in fractionally. Okay, might need that a little bit more that way to get the is in it. So I've sorted it out like that in terms of I've taken the image, could have been an image off the camera roll, or it could have been a live photo. And then I've drawn around it and I've got it all neat and tidy. I've excluded bits I don't want. And then I'm going to tap confirm. And it has a think about it. So that image we're looking at now is the image that I took it's just straightened it up. And the only bit that's wrong is at the beginning, it's not got the S because it probably thinks that's the graphic. So what I can do with that, I should be able there to go into it and actually fix it. So if I can get my finger right, I need to swap glasses so I can actually see what I'm doing. Can we click on that? We can. What I'm trying to do is get to the other end of it and put an S in it. And it's being a bit awkward. In fact, right, there we go. Can I get to the end? Yeah, I want Safari. There we go. So we can see the image at the top, we can see the text at the bottom, and then you have two options. You can either copy that text or you can share it. So the share option is your standard share option. So you can copy it from there, you can send it to drafts on a quick capture or whatever else you've got set up in here. But let's just say, oh, I could send it to young Jonathan. He's been pretty quiet. I think he's asleep. Could send him a text. That'd wake him up.
I reckon he is.
I think he could have gone. And you know, at the afternoon off, I wonder what he was doing. Yeah.
Just thinking that.
Oh, yeah. Right, I'm going to copy it. Okay, so text copied. And come out of it. Right. That's got me out of there. I'm going to go back another level. And what I can now do in here... But that's actually interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I'll tap new at the bottom and we'll go into Word. We'll get a blank document and I will paste in everything that I've
it's still here.
Oh, well done, Jonathan. So I've got the text that I've automatically recognised and put that in a Word file. So that's fairly accurate given what I'm working with. In terms of, let's go back to where we were. Let's just save that. We don't want it saved as document. That's not helpful. We'll put OCR. Sorry to disturb you, Lola. That was a bit of a snort. OCR. Okay, let's just save that. Are you going to save that? Do I need to tell you where to save that? Is that why you're not happy? There we go. Right. In terms of what I was saying about the success of that was, if we go back to that and we look at it, this is what I'm working with. I've got iPads here, I've got that there, I'm at a different angle, and I've got light from one side, but the other side's very dark. So what I'm working with, that's not bad. That's not bad. Quite happy with that one. Right, where have we disappeared to? Here. So the next thing to look at is an image to a table. Now, Mike has actually demonstrated this. We were pondering and trying to remember how he demonstrated this in terms of what he demonstrated it on. Because I didn't just want to do just the same demo. This demo is very, very similar to the last demo. So to add some jeopardy to it, because, you know, what's a demo that you know is going to work? I decided I would do it in a completely different way. Oh, there's nothing like jeopardy, is there? Right, what I'm going to do is, I think I had one of these up in Vivaldi. I had a table in Vivaldi. So I'm going to bring that over here. This that we're looking at, I'm going to make this a little bit narrower. We don't need all of that, do we? That's better. Right, this is the Teachable Summit from last September. And it's in a spreadsheet. But now the spreadsheet it's in is Google Sheets. And I'm going to change the view of that. That'll do nicely. Right, what I'm going to do is use the image to table option. But instead of pointing at a piece of paper, this is because our printer's not working and I don't have a piece of paper with a table on it. I do, however, have a screen with a table on it. So let's see how it does. Pointing it at a screen and trying to get an image of that. Now, you won't see this unless I put that on the other screen. So I will put that on the other screen. We'll see how we go with that. And we'll bring Air Server back so you can see it. So I'm now, that's going to need unplugging, pointing that at the other screen. And I want the tabley bit in the middle. So I'm just going to take that as a capture. Then I'm going to scale it down onto here. And I know I'm aiming for the blue bit at the corner, which marks out my table. This works, it'll be a miracle. Take it up there. So we'll go for, say, line 20. You've got to do it difficult, haven't you? No fun at all if it's too easy. Right, let's have a look at that. Is that a good one? Could you use Cloud App to put the image into this? Yes, you could. You could have just taken a photograph of it or anything like that. Let's say that's not bad. That's what we're working from, and it is extracting the data and trying to build a table from it. Not bad considering is what I would say. Now, what you're actually looking at here is the image that you've taken at the top, and the bottom is an intermediate step before you send it through to Excel, which is you've got the reference. I'll do this with the mouse. You've got the reference column here. Not bad. But further down, you can see it's got the 10 and... If it was a double figure, it's put it on the left, and otherwise it's split it. I can deal with that when I get it into Excel. The rest of these, I may want to try dealing with it here. So, for instance, this one, it's not quite sure. And they've not got it right. So I can tap Edit, and I can actually put in there... And then it changes the background from red, which is a query, to something that I've typed in because I know that's right. And it's using the image you've got at the top or the scan that you've done so you can see it to reference it. Some stuff, so let's see, presenters. Presenters seems to, I don't know why that's got a slash in it. It shouldn't have a slash in it. But I can go in there and edit that. Did that say edit? It did. Edit. There we go. Take that back, just put an S on it and OK. So you can basically use this for triage. Most of these are right. I don't know why it's got red in them because the majority of them are right. Some things that aren't right, like line 4, they need to be together. So those cells need to be merged. But all I'm doing at this point is the basics. And to be honest, if I looked at that, I'd say that that's pretty good. And all I would do is tap open, and it says 50 items. Why aren't you seeing that? That's weird. That is weird. Oh, that's why it's got all upset with its little self. Let's start the share again, and then maybe you'll be seeing what I'm seeing. Oh, I knew the iPad would start acting up because it hates me with a passion. Right, okay. Where you go. Right, it says 50 items need your review. But I know that I've already looked at them, and rather than say yes, 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 yes to every one of them, I'm just going to deal with this in Excel. So I'm going to say open it anyway. And it brings it in here. Now, it doesn't look great, but don't panic. It's not as bad as that either. Right, what I'm going to do in here. I think I did. When I tapped on A, there's 2 little lines on the right-hand side of each column. So where you've got the B, you've got 2 little lines. Now when I get to column C, that's important because I'm going to tap it twice. And that stretches the column to show me everything that's in it. I'll do the same on D, and you can see where the problems are. And it's far easier to deal with them in here than it would have been elsewhere. But you can also see that's not that bad. That would be way easier to tidy up in here than it would be to redo it somewhere else. So in terms of tidying that up in here on an iPad, which, don't know about you guys, I would not do. I would not do this. I would do this on the desktop. But what I would do with that is grab the whole thing and cut that. That actually belongs next to the 7 steps. So I would just paste that in where it belongs. That leaves column D blank, and it leaves 1 item over here in column E. So let's say with that one, go in there, select that, cut that, and put that over here, supercharge your brain or whatever it was. Right, that should leave column D and E empty, so I can just delete those 2. That's then not an issue. Delete column. And the same with D. We don't need that one. Delete column. That's not bad at all. Over here, These should be in A, so drag them across, replace it, and then B can disappear as well. And even though I do not do proper work on an iPad, life's too short, I have been able to tidy that up completely. Just from taking a screenshot, and remember here, a screenshot of a computer. It wasn't even a piece of paper. It was actually on a computer screen. And now it is all neat and tidy. Right, have we got any questions?
No, we're just chatting about
Kim's just totally impressed with your ability to do so many things at once. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And Tony's been trying to get everything paperless. Oh, getting there. Just need the shredder is key. Do not skimp on the shredder. We had a shredder, I think it was about 30 to 40 pounds, and it was fine. It did the job, and it lasted about 6 weeks. We then got another one that was about £50, and that probably lasted another few weeks. I then said, you know what, let's just get an industrial shredder. And it's lived here ever since. We must have had that shredder 15 years. It's fantastic. It's huge, but it's fantastic. And it gets a lot of use, doesn't it, Mike? Everything gets scanned, shredded, scanned, shredded. Other pro tip, if you are going paperless, get some stamps. Kim will agree with this. Stamps are what you need. Next to me, I have stamps that say copy confidential, file, scanned and for shredding. And you just, as soon as it's scanned, you mark it scanned. Once everything's backed up, then I would mark it as for shredding and it goes in the shredding pile. You definitely need stamps. We did a session on paperless, didn't we? Tony needs to find it. So that's the second option that we have there, and that worked rather well as well. So I'm going to save that. That's not going to be booked. No, no, no. That was an OCR from Sheets, was where that came from. Okay, you disappear and sort yourself out. Right. We need to go back and see what we're looking at next, which is signing a PDF. I know now there are many, many ways to do this, but originally there wasn't. Mike's done a whole series on signing documents, so I think this is a nice addition to it for people who may not know any other way to actually get this job done. So let's go in and have a look at that. So it is the option with do more with PDFs. On the left-hand side, it's the first option in there. Sign a PDF. So first thing you need to do in here is actually get in there and actually find the PDF that needs signing. This is looking at OneDrive, but it could come from anywhere. It really doesn't matter. I'll just pick the reference one at the top and it will open that up. So this is already a PDF. It started life as a Word document from a Word template and I just saved it out as a PDF. In essence, what I need to do is to sign the document underneath the yours sincerely. So the first thing I need to do, as it instructs me at the bottom, is sign the document. So tap where you want to sign. So I'm just going to tap under the yours sincerely and that opens up this signature panel. And from there, you sign it. So it says, please sign here. What it doesn't do, and I think it would be nice if it did, is it doesn't give you precision as to where you need to sign, depending on where you want it to appear in the document. That wouldn't be too much of an issue if you could move it later, but I've not found a way to move it later. So you do have options with colour. They're limited. You've got green or you've got blue. Green's nice, blue's nice. I think blue makes it look more realistic. I actually had from a client a signature. They sent me this signature and it was black. And they said, it doesn't look real. Can you make it blue? Now, obviously, I've got Photoshop, I've got Affinity Photo. Of course, I can make it blue. So I made it look like a biro. So actually, sometimes making the signature a different colour is a good idea. So it only gives you 3 options. So I'll choose the blue one. And then it says, please sign here. I'm not sure whether it means down at the bottom or whether it means in the middle of the window. I would guess in the middle of the window. So I'm just going to sign it in the middle of the window. What are you up to, madam? She's shuffling herself round. Right, so I've signed it. That's not bad. That's nearly like my signature. Right, you've got a couple of options at this point. If you don't like it, there's the bin option on the right to start again. You've also got the ability to bring in an image. And in the middle, you can store this signature. So if you've got this signature, it's absolutely perfect. You could store this if you wanted to. So if it's yours, you could choose to store it. If you're asking a client to sign it, you probably shouldn't be storing their signature. But we have a signature. I'm not going to store that one. I'm just going to tap done. And that puts my signature, not bad. I would prefer it to be a little bit more to the right. That was what I was saying about it being kind of guesswork. If you want to try again, you can tap sign, sign somewhere else. So go into it. And this time, if I put my signature over that side and tap done, yeah, it's still put in the same place. It just seems to want to put it there. So that's a bit hit and miss. I wish you could then tap this. Oh, hang on. You can. There we go. That was not working before, but there you go. Yes, you can. You can move it. It takes a little bit of time to activate itself. You can also scale it if you want to scale it. So you can get it just right in just the right place. And you have actually at that point signed a PDF. Now you'll notice that there is a tick in the top left-hand corner. That will then save that file with the signature. Doesn't close it. It lets you send that somewhere. So you can share it by inviting people. You can copy a link to it, or you can actually send a copy. You send a copy, you can email it with Outlook or send it with another application. So if we say send with another app, we then finally get through to the standard share dialog that we have, and you can use any one of those. Once you've done that, you can tap the pen in the top corner. That will let you work with this beyond signing it. Now, remember what the option said, sign a PDF. It didn't mention the fact that you can actually put pretty notes on it if you want. Peach ones or yellow ones or all kinds of other coloured ones. So let's put that one on it. And then you can actually, you should be able to draw on this. So let's put hello world. Oh, it actually converts it. Fair enough. And you can do that. What you now have on here, well, you can delete it. You actually have a note that you can tap and get to. So it is actually more than just signing it. It's actually annotations on a PDF. So we've got a T there, and you can type into it. And you have all of these little pretty pens as well. Oh, who doesn't want to annotate stuff with pretty pens? Oh, my entire life. There we go. And you can highlight as well. Awesome, isn't it? And again, tap the tick to accept it. And then finally return into your actions where you can do other things. Okay, let's go back in to the next one, which is where you have a document and you want to make it a PDF. Now, all of us here are probably savvy enough to think you can do that anyway. Yeah, of course you can. But your average person using it, your average muggle, this is like, oh, can I? Because they don't know how to make a PDF from a Word document on their phone. But this enables them to do it fairly easily. So let's have a look at that.
He's asking which app is this?
This is the Office Hub app, the Microsoft Office Hub app for iPad, and it's also available for iPhone. Right, so this time we're going to go for document to PDF. So we've made some documents tonight. We've OCR'd one for a start. That was the one that we actually did before from the magazine, which is this paragraph of text. So not the most exciting document, but at the moment it's a Word document. But we've just tapped on it and it's converted it to a PDF, because you'll notice this is looking at it and it's not actually in Word, is it? Was it Word to start with? No, it wasn't, because what it's saying here is you've made a PDF. Do you want to save it before you head back? Because your other option is you can do all of the annotation that you've just seen me do on the other one, you can do in here as well. So if I try going back, then I can save it, and that is my OCR document, but that is a PDF version of it. It's that easy to make a PDF. You literally just open it up and you are done. Couldn't really get easier than that, could we? Oh, the next few are going to get really, really interesting. So, the next one. Scan to a PDF. So this is assuming that you are maybe out of the office and you want to make a PDF of something. I'm thinking, which way around do I need this? We'll try doing it this way, because what I'm doing is I'm taking the case off the iPad. This might not be a good idea. I'm going to try with that magazine again, which is on its side in front of me. So I'm moving cables and glasses and pens, and let's see if we can get an entire page of that, maybe even two, scanned in. But the way it's going, I might just drop the iPad. Right, so scan to a PDF. So what we've got is the magazine in front of us. So I'm taking it out enough so we can actually see it. Now you can see it's highlighting on the left, document. You could also say photo or a whiteboard if you want. And the red frame is making its best guess as to where that page actually is. And that's not bad. I've seen better, but it's not bad. And it's turned it round. And it says, let me adjust the border after each scan. And that's turned on, which means I can now actually edit that. So I could bring that in a little bit and I could adjust the corners if I wanted to. That actually isn't that bad. I'm quite impressed with that. Given working conditions, I'm quite impressed with that. So we'll confirm that, and that takes you into this view here, where you can, because it's a PDF, you can actually add text, which is the top option. You can add some ink. So when you do that, it's got red at the moment. So let's say we just do that and say we're going to do a demo on that. That adds that in. You can delete this. You can rotate it if you need to, if it didn't do a good job. You can crop it if you want to do that. You can add filters and you can add more pages. So at the moment, we've just captured the first page. So what we'll do is we'll tap add and we'll go get the next page, which might be even trickier, but we'll go do it anyway. Wish you could tell me my view at the moment. Let's see how it does. Not bad at all. I think that top corner needs bringing down a little bit. But other than that, that is pretty good. So I'll confirm that. And we'll go in there, which will show me the second page. And it's not done a bad job. I would probably do a much better job if it wasn't half dark and I wasn't juggling 3,000 other things. I would flatten the magazine better for a start. But that's not bad. When I think of how I started scanning, that would have been the holy grail. Again, you've got all the same options. So you want to add text or add ink to it or whatever you want to do. When you're ready, you tap done at the bottom and you now have a PDF, which does look, I mean, that is actually perfect with that. It's got our writing in there, our inking, and there's page 2 further down. So not bad at all. And you've got the options again to send it. So this is the share option where it's at the moment it's on OneDrive personal. You can keep a local copy, you can upload it, you can send a copy. So basically that's all your sharing options. And you can tap and save that. So we'll call that doesn't actually matter, does it? We'll just save it as a scan. And we've scanned to PDF. Awesome. So I'm going to move the magazine out of the way. This is getting more complicated by the minute. Running out of places to put things. Right, let's go back in here. And like I said, the reason that I'm going backwards and forward in here is so it's easy that we can see what's going on in there. So that was a scan to PDF. Our next one is the other way round. This is the holy grail where Mike works. This is asked at least 5 times a week. How can I convert? And literally, as they've got to that point, if I'm sat next to Mike, I'm going a PDF to, and then it's like, is it a Word document they'd like? Is it a PDF they'd like? Yeah, what is it you would like? A PowerPoint file rather, or an Excel file. But it will be something else. It will be something other than something you would like them to have, that's for sure. All right, can we do this way? We can, that's awesome. Right, so this one's converting a PDF to a Word document. Now, before you try doing this, obviously be aware. This works much, 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 much better if it was a Word document to start with. Because if it was an Excel file, or if it was an InDesign file, it's not going to convert to Word very well, is it? But if it was a Word file, but somebody's given you the PDF version and you now need to completely rejig it, taking it back to Word is a good start. If you want to make 1 or 2 changes, change the PDF. But if you want access to the whole of the text, then this is the option, convert it back to Word. So I will tap on that option. And you'll see in here that we've got some documents that started life as Word files. So the reference files started as a Word file, but the other 2, the OCR PDF version and the scan we've just done, that was never a Word file to start with. So the reference will convert fantastically well, but the scans won't convert that well at all because they weren't Word documents. You're asking it to convert a Word document, to convert PDF into a Word document when it was never a Word document to start with. So just be aware of that. If you're going for something like the reference file, so I will open the reference file. And now we have an editable Word file and it looks pretty good. That is accurate. That's 100% accurate. And it's that easy to do it. So I'm going to go back into there and just show you that with this PDF to Word file, if you were to try something like the one that we've just done, which is 2 pages of a magazine, 1, it's going to take much longer. 2, what it's going to try and do is take out the words and put those in there and see what it does with the rest of it. To be honest, that's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good. Look at all the mistakes. As if it started life in a Word file. It's not bad. You know, it's made an attempt at columns, but to be honest, there would be so many things there that need to be fixed. I personally wouldn't try doing that. And this is the problem that Mike faces when somebody comes to him and says, can you convert this to be a Word file? It was an InDesign file and now it's paper and you've scanned it and you now want it to be a Word file. So not great, but you can see there's something there, but I personally would not live with that, no. So how good this is going to depend on the quality of the source material that you put into it, obviously. Right, that's that one. Right, next one. Let's go back into there. Where have we disappeared to now? Oh no, hang on. No, that's not what we want. What is happening to me here? I've got weirdness happening. Let's get into here. Come on. That's better. Right, the next one is pictures to a PDF. And all this one does is allow you to take pictures of something and then send them as a PDF. Now, when may you want to do that? And if you can imagine you're at a conference or something, and you want to send one file. You don't want to juggle with kind of 10 images that you've taken. You just want to take some images and send one file to somebody and say, this is what's happening at the conference. This is a quick way to do it. That is probably the only time that I would particularly use this one myself. But what we've got here, tap on pictures to PDF and it opens up our images. So you'll notice some of these from last week. Which was our the splash screens for photo and designer, etc. So we'll pick those. So I'm picking a couple of these. I'll pick that one as well. And some of these here. So I've got there 5 images. 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, so I've got 10 images. I tap the lower right and then move on. And it loads those images in, and as it's doing it, it's making a PDF of the images. So there are all 10 of the images that I've got. There they are. Okay. And then you've got the standard tools down the right-hand side, which is the text and inking and deleting and rotating and all the other things you may need to do. Once you tap done, you go straight through. There is your PDF. And it's the images that you've got. It's a very good way to make a PDF of images. I wish other applications could work as well as that. So that's how we make that. So I will do that as, we'll save that as images. There we go. And back we go. So we've got a few left at the moment. So we have scanning a QR code. This one's going to be interesting because you need to see both the QR code and the interface. I wonder if it could do it on my thumbnail grid, but I wouldn't be seeing my thumbnail grid, would I? So I need to find a QR code that you can see on the desktop. So I'm going to open this up, and I've probably got one in Adobe Bridge. So let's open Adobe Bridge. I know it's Adobe, but don't panic. Right, and I've got a QR code. So if I open that, are you contemplating opening anytime soon? Oh, not in Photoshop. What are you thinking? God, we'll be here all night. Oh, no, stand corrected. That's not bad. That'll do. That'll do nicely. But the thing is, you can't see my screen while we're doing that. So what I'm going to try and do is make that smaller. And it's going to have to fit, isn't it? I definitely need to see the whole of that. Right, let's do that. And make it... I don't need it too small. I need it just the right size so you can see it and see Air Server as well, which isn't going to work well at all unless we do that. So now we've got the two side by side. So the iPad is what I'm seeing on the iPad. And when I use the scan QR code, we're going to get this, which is it's scanning for the QR code. So I need to take the case down so we can see it. And if you look at that, I'll just put it on the desk and you can see there's a red bar and that's the scanning. So as I take that over there, it'll be so fast. And it gives you a preview. It says, do you want to visit the post, see the post for more? It's the MacBites mail. So you could copy the link, you could open the link, or you could do a note. Now I'm going to tap it to open the link. It will open up that page in your browser. So it's opened it up in Safari. And there's the page itself. So that's the MacBites Mail sign-up page. So it can scan it and it can take you straight there. I would say a year ago that would have been very much a gimmick and most people would be like, a what? A queue what? But because of the track and trace thing, people are very, very comfortable now understanding what a QR code is and how they work on their phone. And for the majority of people, all they actually need to do is point the camera and they instantly understand what that's about. So I think this might have been more use a year ago, but people do know what it does and what it is. So they might use it. Who knows? Who knows? So let's come out of there. Right, let's do that again. That was the QR code I was going to use. And there's then create a form, which I'm not going to have that much time to show in detail. But in essence, what you can do is create a form and have the results stored in a spreadsheet. So it is quite useful. Let's get this all stretched out so we can see it. There is a service called Microsoft Forms. There is the standard prosumer version and there is a professional version. So create a form, and what that gives you is this untitled form, and then you add to it questions. So let's say up there where it says unknown form, let's say we call that Mad March, and in a description, questions for, can't see, it's that dark, Mad March sessions. Thus, and we are done with that. So we've got our title, we've got the description, and I'm going to tap the tick. That's the first bit done at the top. Then you add a question. So you tap at the bottom where it says add question, and you have question types. So you have a choice. You can ask a text-based question, a rating, or a date. So let's say we do a choice. And we have, and I'm just going to put this in for speed, best day for sessions. So what I mean is, what's the best day for the sessions? And then in the options, you would obviously put Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and so forth. But I'll give you Monday and Tuesday because otherwise I'll be here forever. But to add an extra one, you just tap the add and add that in like that. Right, when you've done that, you have the option at the bottom to say it's required, and or you can choose multiple answers. So that's probably a good one to toggle on, that rather than restrict people to just one. Now that changes it from radio buttons to checkboxes. And then we'll put the tick at the top, and then you can add another question. So let's say with this one, how did you like this demo? And you can all tell me how you like this demo. Right, your options down here are that it's required. There's levels, so you could have more levels if you wanted. We'll leave that 5, and you can choose the symbol. You can have a number or you can have the stars. And we won't say that it's required, and then we'll do that. And then you can send that to somebody. So you can copy the link or you can email it and send it to people. And it's a way of collecting in information. People are probably more inclined to fill in a form like that than they are reply to an email and actually have to put it into words, because that's like too much work, isn't it? So that is the forms section. Next one won't take that long. Because
Tony says, could you direct that to a file in Dropbox? I presume he's talking about forms. I don't think you can.
I don't think you can, no. Now, you have to remember, I'm also logged in on my 365 account rather than my enterprise account. So what you'd be able to do on the enterprise one would be different than what you can do on a 365 one.
I don't think you can on the enterprise account.
I wouldn't expect it, to be honest.
We use it at work.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it. Right, the last one, not much to see unless we actually sit here and go through it, but I'll just show you the interface, which is it can rehearse a presentation with you. It's going to coach you. That wouldn't go down well here, would it, Mel?
I thought that.
What's that thing you say? Not peer review, the other thing. Oh, constructive criticism. Yeah, the word constructive, I somehow miss it completely. And I hear criticism and that's it. That's the end of that. But that's just me. Maybe everybody else is more well balanced.
We have quarterly check-ins now.
Do you? They're not called constructive criticisms anymore. No, it just wouldn't end well. Just put it like that. Do you know, I just think with all that I do, the last thing I need is to hear any kind of criticism whatsoever. But that's just me. Who enjoys being criticised? Unless you're a complete narcissist. Why? And peer review's another one. That's just a different word for it. But basically what Rehearse will do, you will choose a presentation. So obviously I've got lots of presentations on here. These are my ones on OneDrive, I think. So I'm going to tap the first one, which is my world map in this. Now, you're not seeing what I'm seeing, which is always useful, isn't it? God's sake. Oh, you're seeing like the screen view, what's on the screen. I'm not. I'm seeing something else. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if this works. Let's do another screen mirroring, because I can. Let's see how this works. It's having a think about it, having a rare old think about it. Awesome! Right, so you can actually see what I'm seeing. So why are we still seeing that? Right, I'm going to go that way. That's what I'm seeing. Isn't it nice when the tech works? New toy this, new app. Right, so that's my phone pointing at it. So basically what I need to do there, that says start rehearsing. So you have the presenter's view on your iPad, on your device, and then on the screen, on the right-hand side, you actually have the content of the presentation. You start speaking, and it gives you instant feedback. Right. The feedback it's talking about is the speed you're going, the pace you're going, etc. It's going to tell me I'm going too fast, but then I'm not brain dead. So this is why I don't take any notice whatsoever. I would take questions from you guys and I would say with you, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? I think a lot of presentations I see are too slow. They're emphasising their point and stuff, but this is supposed to guide you through it and help you with your pacing. To be honest, find a colleague that you know, like and trust and talk to them about it. Like Kim said the other day, once you've gone to 2 times, there's no going back. So I suppose that's where I am. If you need me to go slower, there is a go slower button on YouTube. When you're watching later, you can hit 0.75 and it will slow me down to a slow drawl. Or if you're feeling exciting and excitable, you could take me up to 2 times and then just think how giddy that would be. But that is what this is supposed to do. It is a feature that's in PowerPoint to start with, but this just enables you to do it in here using this Office app. So that's what that is for. And this app is working remarkably well. Do like something that works. Okay, I'm holding that in my hand, that's why it's shaky. But that's what we've got there. Right, let's see if I can actually do... Awesome sauce. Right, marvellous when it works. Marvellous. Right, so that was the Office app. You do need to activate it so it works in exactly the same way. You will need your Office 365 thing. It doesn't cost you any more. It's just your Office 365 account. It will use the same... It's the same as Word, PowerPoint, and Excel in there. It's just that it's one individual app. Is it any better? If you're the type of person, which I would say younger people probably are, that they're task focused. They want to think about, oh, I want to go in and do X. Whereas a more experienced person like Mike and I is probably like, I need to go into Excel and open up file X. It's just a different way of thinking about it. Is it the way they're going? Absolutely it is. Because that, as I said last week, is also available on Windows. So last night I had the church newsletter to check out again. Good job I did. We had all the wrong words for the readings in it. So I went to Google Drive, I opened the file, it opened up in Publisher, and then behind Publisher, there was the Office app. And it's giving me a list of my files. It's acting as a portal. And it opened up automatically. I've never asked it to do it. I didn't even install it. It installed itself, and it's like takeover time on Windows, isn't it? So it is the way Microsoft are going. So it's worth at least a look at, I think. Right, how ready are you,
Have you
Mike?
seen the chat?
No, I can't see the chat.
Deborah says, I once had a colleague indicate what I thought was you're too slow, so I speeded up, but I was already too fast. Finished with minutes to spare. And Dee says, I actually found you because you talk normally. I was looking for Affinity tutorials, and the most famous channel, Affinity Revolution, has people who talk so slow, so I skip them.
Do you know, it's very difficult to pitch it right. So there's a different dynamic with a video to a live session. And I much prefer a live session because I can get feedback as I go. As you know, are you okay with that? Are there any questions with that? You know, and some of the questions you guys ask is like, yeah, I should have said that, or I would never have thought of saying that. And it also, if one person says, can you just go over that again? Odds are there's another 50 in there not saying a word who are thinking it's a good job X asked that, because I would like to go over that again. So live is just much a better dynamic as far as I'm concerned, but that's just me. And some people will say I speak too quickly, like Mike. You sometimes say I speak too quickly, don't you? And he will ask me to repeat things 3 times, and then it all kicks off. Right, so
yes, I'm ready.
Before there's a domestic, shall we switch to Mike?
Yeah.
Let's get Mike's screen. Where's Mike's screen?
For a bit of Excel.
Oh, there we go. There's the mouse pointer. Nearly lost it again. And we're with Mike. Over to you.
Right. I'm going to show you 4 functions today. One which we've covered, one that we've covered before on a number of occasions, which is the if function. One is if-s, which some people call ifs. The other is switch, and the other is choose. So the first one then is basic ifs. What I want to do here in column D is I want to put in there, all the way down column D, the word yes or no. I know I could type it myself, but the whole idea of the if function is that it will put yes or no in for you based on a criteria. And in this case, the criteria is that the number of bookings for each course is less than the maximum attendees or equal to the maximum attendees. So it's going to put yes or no depending on that criteria. So every formula, every function starts with an equal sign, followed by the name of the function, which is if, in this example, followed by an open bracket. And the function's broken down into three parts, so three elements go inside the brackets or parameters. The first one is what they call a logical test. And in this example, I'm going to test to see if the number of bookings, which is in C2, is equal to the maximum attendees, which is in G1. Once I've put that in, I'll stick a comma because that's the parameter separator. Then I put in what value I want to see in this cell if that logical test is true. So if C2 does indeed equal G1, what do I want to see in this cell? I want to see the word yes. And because that's text, it has to go in double quotes. Then I put a comma, and if that logical test is not true, so if C2 is not equal to G1, it could be less than, it could be greater than, I want it to put no. Close the brackets. So it comes up as no, because right now that logical test is not true. If I change that to 50, it changes it to yes. If I change it to 51, it's now showing us no, which obviously isn't right, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So let's just change that back to 32. Before I copy the formula down, I need to edit it to make G1 absolute, so that when the formula is copied down, it retains the reference to G1. And I can do that easily by pressing the F4 key whilst I'm in formula edit mode, and it puts the dollar signs around G1. I could have typed that in myself, but F4 will do it. And then copy that formula down. So we have the formulas there copied down, and you can see that we have yes only where column C equals 50. So that's a basic if. What I want to do now is do another example of an if, but this time we've got three possibilities because we've got yes, no, and overbooked. Yes and no is going to be exactly the same example as I did before. So let's just delete these formulas, but overbooked is going to be where the number of bookings is more than the maximum attendees. So I want to change the formula to say if the number of bookings is less than the maximum attendees, then I want it to show as yes. But now I've got two more possibilities. So I do another if. So if the number of bookings is greater than the maximum attendees, then I want it to say overbooked. Otherwise, I want it to say no. You don't have to say if C2 is greater than G1. Sorry, if C2 equals G1, because we've already told it what to do if it's less than, we've told it what to do if it's greater than. So if it's equal to, then it's got to be the same. It's got to be no. Now I do need two closing brackets there because I've got two open brackets. So there's one closing bracket for each. One closing bracket for each open bracket. That gives me yes. I've got the logic the wrong way around actually, haven't I? That should be no. That should be yes. That's better. So it's not full. I need to make G1 absolute before I copy it down. Oops. Pressed F5 there instead of F4. G1. There we go, that's better. And then copy that down. Okay, now if I go and change this to say 51, then that is now showing as overbooked. Change that to 50 and it's changed it to yes. So there's a couple of examples of basic functions and nested functions. We call it a nested function because it's a function within a function. And in this particular example, it's two if functions inside the other. Now I'm going to show you another example of a nested if function. So for this one, I want to calculate the cost. And it's the cost which is based on the delivery. So to do that, there's actually 4 possible deliveries, and each delivery's got a cost associated with it. So if I put in here, if C2 is equal to standard, I'm actually using the cell reference rather than the word standard, and I know that I want that to be absolute because when I copy the formula down, I want it to keep referencing F2. So if that is true, then the cost is £5 or whatever's $5 or whatever's in G2, and again that needs to be absolute as well. But if C2 is equal to F3, so if that is true, then the cost is whatever's in G3, comma, then another if, so if, it's not F4, is it? If C2 is equal to F4, and make that absolute, then the cost is whatever's in G4. And then finally, if that's not true, then it's whatever's in G5. So we don't have to say if the delivery is equal to F5. We can just put G5 as the last parameter. Now I need however many closing brackets to match the opening brackets. So I've got 4. No, I haven't. I've got 3. So you can see even with 3, you've got to start counting them. And you can imagine if you've got, I think the maximum number of ifs in one cell is 64. So if you can imagine you've got that many ifs, you're going to get very confused with the brackets. But there we go. Okay, so copy that down. And we do get the correct results. Just do a quick sample check of those and we get the correct results. So before I go on to the next function, which is if s, I'm just going to check if there's any questions. So D says, you've been focusing so much on the chat, you've no idea what I'm doing. Okay. What I am doing is looking at if functions in Excel and variations of if functions. The thing with the if function is, as you've just seen, it can get quite complicated, both to type, to troubleshoot, and just to look at. If you're given someone else's spreadsheet, and you know, how often does that happen? Very, very regularly. The number of times somebody said to me at work, I've inherited this spreadsheet and I don't understand it at all. Can you take me through it? And obviously the more complex the formulas, the longer it takes to go through and understand. So what Microsoft did is they brought in another function called ifs, which is available in Excel 2016 and Excel for 365 on both Mac and Windows. So you'll be glad to know that this is available on the Mac. So I'll show you ifs, and I'm going to use the same demo. I've just made a copy of that sheet, but it's exactly the same as multiple ifs, nested ifs. It's just made simpler. And the main thing is you don't have to keep repeating the criteria. So you can see here we are looking at what's in C2, we're looking at what's in C2, we're looking at what's in C2. So in each if we are looking at what's in C2, and we've got multiple ifs, which means we've got multiple sets of brackets. So ifs just makes it a little bit simpler. So in D2, I'll put equals if fs, not if fs, I'll say it again, if s equals if s, open brackets. Okay, so we put in here C2 equals F2. Now we do actually need to repeat the C2, but there's another function which I'll show you in a minute where you don't. So you do need to repeat the C2 bit, the expression, but you don't need to repeat the if. That's the big benefit. So if C2 equals F2, then what's going to go into here is what's in G2. If C2 equals F3, then what's going to go in the cost is going to be G3. If C2 equals F4, sorry, I do need to put C2 equals F4, then what's going to go in D2 is G4. And if C2 equals what's in F5, then the cost is what's in G5. So yes, I am having to repeat the C2, but what I'm not having to do is to repeat the if. And therefore you don't need lots of closing brackets. And that is actually, I know that looks complex, but that is actually simpler to write and simpler to look at than the multiple if. So you're saying if C2 is equal to F2, then what goes in here is G2. If C2 is equal to F3, etc., etc. I know I'm saying if as I write it, but you don't actually have to put the word if in. So if I press enter, the dollar signs, as I say, are needed because as I copy the formula down, I want it to keep the references to these cells. And normally when you copy a formula down, the references adjust. So there we go. We've got the same results there. The next function I'll show you is switch. And what switch does is it compares a value against a list of values and returns a result that corresponds to the first match. You can use it when you want to perform an exact match with several possible results, but it does have to be an exact match, so you can't use things like greater than and less than, etc. This one again is similar to ifs or ifs, but the expression doesn't need to be repeated. So I guess you can say that each one kind of is an improvement on the previous one. So I've started off with just showing you the nested if, which is the way we've always done it, which can be a bit messy and complex. And then the if s just gives us an easy way of doing it. I think the MacBites teeth have come out there.
I think they have.
And then switch just gives us yet an easier way to do it. So here we go. So in D2, I'll put equals switch, open brackets, and then I'll put C2, which is the expression, comma, value 1 is going to be F2, and that needs to be absolute. Then a comma, and the result is G2, and then the next value is F3, comma, and the next result is G3, and the next value is F4, and the result is G4, and so on and so forth. I missed a comma out there, so that needs to be G4. I'll make that absolute. And the next one is F5 and G5. And again, it looks more complex than it is, probably because of the dollar signs. But basically what we're doing is we're saying, look at C2, and if C2 has the value of F2, then what goes as the answer to this formula is what's in G2. If C2 equals F3, the answer is what's in G3. If C2 equals F4, the answer is what's in G4, and so on and so forth. So you need one closing bracket, and basically you're comparing the value in C2 to that, and that's the result if that's true, then comparing what's in C2 to that, and so on and so forth. And then copy that down. And the last function to show you is the choose function. Now, the choose function on its own is not very useful. But before I show you the choose function combined with another function, I will show you the choose function on its own so it makes sense. Before I go on though, is Johnny still awake?
Don't wake him up.
He doesn't seem to be awake.
No.
Because if he was, he'd be getting giddy about these functions.
He would.
Yes. So I'm going to say, you've got the point.
Oh no, you can't.
Can't I call it?
Call it?
Okay.
And there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, he might wake up. Yeah. Okay, so the choose function. I've got a list of months, and I'm entering a number between 1 and 12 in D1, and the choose function, you put equals choose. The first parameter is the number, and then all the other parameters are the cells that contain the values. What would be great is if you could actually say something like this: equals equals choose bracket D1 comma A1 to A12. That would be logical to me. You can't do that. And what you'd then be saying is, give me the value that's in the cell, the third cell down in A1 to A12. But unfortunately you can't do that. So you've got to specify each cell individually, which I think is what puts people off using the choose function. But what that choose function is doing is it's saying, give me the third value from A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. So as I say, the choose function on its own isn't that useful. It's long-winded, but people have asked about it. It kind of fits in with the ifs and the switch, which is why I wanted to cover it. It's one of those functions that you see the name of it and you're thinking, what does that do? Well, some people are thinking, what does that do? Some people just ignore it. So that's why I'm showing it to you. But the other use of the choose function is this here. Okay, what I've done is I've created a drop-down list here with 1 to 5 in it, just with data validation, and I want to display the total revenue based on whichever number is selected in here. So if we select 3, then I want to show the total revenue of that list there. Not because it says year 3, that could just as easily say 2021, 2022, all the way through to 2025. So it could be a 5-year plan. But no, that's the first column, that's the second column, that's the third column, etc. So this is what you do. You put equals sum, open brackets, choose, then you specify that cell because that's the index number. Then you specify that range, comma, that range, comma, that range, comma, that range, comma, that range, comma. Sorry, don't need a comma at the end, need a closing bracket. I need 2 closing brackets actually, because there is an open one there and an open one there. So if I change that to 1, it shows me 439165, which if I select those and look at the bottom of the screen is correct. If I change that to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 460372 is correct. So basically what it's doing is it's looking at those 5 ranges, and because the 4th range is that one, it's adding those up and giving me the total there. So the choose function does have its uses, but not on its own, combined with other functions. And that is it from me for today. So any questions?
You need to hold that thought. I'm doing a Lola upload.
You're doing a Lola upload?
Doing a Lola
okay.
upload.
And what's a Lola upload?
All will be revealed shortly when it's uploaded.
Okay. Right. Don't see any questions.
You blinded them with science.
I blinded them with science, yeah. Paul says, I love the fact that the brackets are different colours to make it easier to make sure you have the correct number of closing brackets. Yeah, but as Peter says, they didn't used to be. It's only in the later versions of Excel that they've made the brackets multicoloured. And it helps you work out how many brackets, because otherwise you get bracket blindness. I think I've just invented that phrase.
Bracket blindness.
Bracket blindness.
Steady on with the teeth.
Bracket blindness. Oh, it's too late.
Oh, is it, Mike?
I don't know.
Dear, dear me.
I haven't been drinking, I know that.
But you might now. You have. You've been drinking water.
I've been drinking
Right,
water.
I'll put in, because Kim says, Jonathan might wake up if Lola brings in her chicken, but I've just put a picture up of the state of Lola right now.
Fast asleep,
Fast
yes.
asleep, what can I say? Right, let me get rid of this lot. That shouldn't be there, but it's going to have to be now.
You're welcome, Sarah.
Right, I was
Welcome,
looking for
Deborah.
something over here, wasn't I? That's what I was looking for. On totally the wrong page, but I won't be in a moment, because we're notioning. We are notioning.
Are you still sharing my screen?
I am.
Right.
So don't do anything dodgy.
I was just going to stop Camtasia, that was all.
There you go, you can now. Right, back into Notion. It's the last week of the learning management system. And can I just say, publicly, Sarah has made herself an amazing learning management system. It looks stunning. I've seen screenshots. It looks stunning. So well done, Sarah. Right, part 4. We had last week we could have gone one way or the other. I'll tell you what I do need to do. Can you hear that buzzing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it started as soon as you started talking.
Oh.
It's the audio interface. So I'll turn it back on again, and hopefully it won't do that again. It seems to have a distinct dislike of Mike. So I have to turn it off and on again to stop it humming away with its little self. Right, last week we had a choice. We could have either gone for what was below the fold, or we could have gone for the dashboard. So we built the dashboard. So this week we're going to wrap up with the templates that you can create, because what we want to do is make the system capable of handling any type of learning content that you want to throw at it. So I'm going to go full circle back to something we did the first week, because you'll doubtless have forgotten. And now the dashboard's there, it'll like feed into it and it will make much more sense. So that's what we're going to do. So why is nothing moving? Honestly. Right, learning management system. We broke it up into 4. We've done the tables, we've done the dashboards. The integrations depend on what you want to integrate it with. So that could be a higher level dashboard. But what I've done is I've roughed out the next few weeks to fit in with the Mad March thing. Because if I don't know what I'm doing in every session by like tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, it's not going to happen. So I've planned it all out, and I've done the last session on Notion 2021 will be, and I quote, the grand tour. So we'll go through everything and see how it actually pulls together. So that will take care of the integrations. So this is kind of the management system that we need to build to bridge the gap between the tables and the dashboards and make sure that you can have one system into which you put everything. Because otherwise you'd be thinking, well, I'll create a YouTube tracker and then I'll create this tracker and I'll create that tracker. And the problem is you cannot join things together. I wish you could. I really wish you could, but you can't. So I call that a union query, which is a technical SQL term. A union query takes records from more than one table and creates a single result set. So if I had my YouTube videos that I've watched table, and I had my courses table and my articles table, a union query would be able to pull records from each table and return one record set. Notion does not support that. So that means when we're building it, we need to think in terms of as fewer tables as possible. You can link the tables, that's fine. It's just as fewer core tables as possible, because otherwise you will make your own life more difficult. So that's where we're at. What we're looking at today is what goes below the fold and how can we make what's below the fold easier to manage in terms of one size will fit all. And usually you can't do that, but we can do that. So let's head off and have a look. Kim can't wait for the grand tour. Good night, Deborah. Good to have you with us. Right, this was where we were last week, if you recall. I'm thinking what needs finishing off here. Right, but it's below the fold that's the main issue. So way back when we started looking at the LMS, one way of getting information in here was that we clipped it. So if we look at the text setup one that we had, it clipped that from my blog. And it didn't need any help doing it, nor did it need anything below the fold. That was it. We just clipped it. So that's one thing that we can still do. So for instance, I've gone into here. This was the links to all the Dev and Think stuff. So let's say that I want to clip that. If that's what I want, then I don't need anything clever in here. And what I mean by anything clever in here is, if we add a new one in here, so if we look at this, we've got courses and articles and summits. We've already got a few templates. But to clip something, an empty page is enough. You wouldn't clip a course, but you may clip aspects of it. But if it's just an article, although we do have an article template, so we could say article and start from that, what we'd be doing is filling in information below the fold. Nothing is being added above the fold. It's just stuff below the fold. And if it's an article, to be honest, you probably want below the fold the content of the article. So I'm going to start off really simply. Let's get rid of that. Let's say we want a copy of this and we want it in our LMS. Oh, there's a question. Do you think they'll make it the union query? The only way they could do that, Kim, effectively in the result set, would be if the tables had the same columns in. And I can't see them doing that. I think they've got, if that came, we'd be looking at years, because they've got the API that they've already publicly agreed to, which is supposed to be being released in Q1, which is like, you've got till the end of March, then get on with it. I can't see that being Q1. I think we might have a beta in Q1, but I don't see the whole thing. They've also got problems in terms of stability, where they seriously need to work on that, and they know they do. And that's coming at the moment ahead of adding major changes like a union query. I can't see that for a long time, if ever, because they may feel it has no place. I would say it does, but many people use Notion in a very limited way to the way that I do. So I would find a great use for a union query, but many people may not. So it would be down the list of what's important to them. But I think if you grasp the fact that it doesn't do it and you work accordingly, you can do it. It does take a little bit of thought though. Mike made a comment this week. I'm in the middle of sorting out the content creation system that we have, because if that isn't absolutely pristine, when I go into Mad March, it's going to fall apart. So let me have a look. I might have that open somewhere that I could actually show you. But in essence, you know, I need a place to put blog posts and emails and YouTube videos, YouTube live streams, and they all have different meta. But I can't, if I put them separate, then I can't union query them. So I'm having to put them in a single table. And that just means that it slows you down a bit, because you're thinking, do I need that above the fold or below the fold? And if it's only ever going to be in one particular type of content, then below the fold is the answer. But if I'm going to want to pivot on it or sort on it or filter on it, it needs to be above the fold. So it just slows you down a little bit. But it's a very good exercise to try and create it in one table, which is what we've done with this. So we need this system to accommodate an article like this, but also a 300-hour course like Sarah's got. So it's how we do that. And fundamentally, what we need is already there. I personally wouldn't have this article thing. Having said that, I might leave it alone. It depends. I'll show you the issue with it. Right, you would go to where the article is, and you have, of course, your Notion clipper. So you could just save the page. And the page that you're saving is the one from my blog. You're adding it to, and this could be either a database or another page. We have got that saving here to the links, and that's just so it's easier for me to find it. That I'm saving a link and I'm putting it in my learning management system. That is the core table. That we're putting it in is in here in master tables. That's the core table, and that's where it's going. Annoyingly, and this is really annoying, you can't do anything with that in terms of I'd like to add a tag because I'd like it to be in the inbox. But I can't because there's no way to do that with that. So I save the page, and that whole article is then going to be saved into my LMS. Despite the fact it's not a course and it doesn't have lessons in it, it's just in there. So if I open it, that's the whole article clipped. And that's the only way, by opening it, that I could actually go in here and in the tags, put it in the inbox. Quickly put it in the inbox. Now, by clipping it, it doesn't give you any option to fill in any of the other meta either, which again, very annoying. This one might say I haven't started reading it yet, and it's an article. It would be nice if we could fill this in at the point we capture it. There are options for that. This was it September? 23rd of September. It feels like yesterday. Right, 23rd of September. Right, now I might want to put a review date on that if I'm thinking of doing, Devon Think to Go 3. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Or a reminder date on it, and I might put a summary in there. Now, I probably wouldn't clip this to my own LMS because it's content I've created, but that's how you would get it in there. When you then, so we can close that down, and we can close that down. When you go back to the LMS, there's the item you've just added, and that's how it gets in the inbox. Now, there is another way to do that, which this is the clipper we're using. This is the Notion clipper, and it says offered by Notion SO. So this is the official clipper. But there are other ways to work. In here, if you do a search in the Chrome store, you get a million other Notion things all over the place. One of the ones that I have tried is this one, which is Save to Notion. And this is a good alternative. So if I add this to Opera and do all of the dance and jiggery pokery, yes, 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 57 times, that gives me a different clipper, which has vanished, which is this Save to Notion. Right, so I have Notion and I have Save to Notion. So I'll put them side by side. We probably shouldn't have closed that thing on my blog, should we? There we go. Let's go back to it and see what we get this time. It was disabled. I don't want it disabled. I want it enabled. Is it on? Yes, it's on. So that should be fine. Right, this time when I do a clip, instead of using the standard Notion thing, I will use this Save to Notion. Now, this initially is just saying there's the title, but you have the ability to make a form, and this form is going to enable you to clip content and be more specific and intentional on the way into the LMS. So I'll create a form. Right, it needs to know what workspace, and in here I've only got the MacBites workspace, and then it needs to know the database. So it's going to start loading in all of the databases we've got. But I know that mine starts with the word links. So I want to build a form for this. Now this looks more complicated than it needs to. Don't worry about it. Right, it's asking for a template, and we have courses, articles, summits. What this is talking about is which template we already have for below the fold we want to use as we clip this. That's huge. That's like, wow. So we could leave the article one and use that. Then do you want to save the page content? So we do. But you then get to say what to do with the fields. So in the icon, do you want the website icon? That'd be nice, because otherwise I have to set it manually. And which do you want for the front image? Do you want the icon or do you want the page image? So we'll leave it set to that at the moment. And you can add fields if you want to. So if we add a field, you already have these fields. Where are these fields coming from? They're coming from our table, our LMS table, the links LMS. Do you want to stop and type a summary at this point? Now, I never do, because the summary to me, I put in after I've read it. But tags would be cool. Oh, tags would be very cool, because tags would mean I could put it in the inbox as soon as I clip it. So I'll say yes to the tags. I can even default add a tag to it on the way in. So everything I clip goes into the inbox, ready for me to process it. Amazing. Right, let's add another one. So content type, do we want to do that? This is probably going to be an article, so I can tag it as article. Right, what else would I like to put in here? Well, the status is going to be not started, because I'm only just clipping it. So what we're doing with this is filling in so much information it doesn't come in totally blank. Now, limitations with this, obviously I'm setting this up. If you're working on a million different machines, this is going to take you forever. But if you're working on like one particular machine to do a lot of work, this is great. Obviously that's going to need to be a desktop. It can be Mac or Windows, but in terms of clipping via a browser on an iOS device, you don't have access to all of the extensions. So those are the things to think about. What else do you want to put in here? Delivery date's a good one. It's defaulting to today. It's better than having no date, but I might want to go in and actually change that. So that's something to think about. But that gives me a great start. That is a huge improvement over the default. So I'm going to hit save on that one. And that's saying in here, so here's the title of it, and you want to use that one. And in this case, I actually do. So I click that and it takes me in. And it's showing me the URL, it's showing me the name of the page, it's going to tag it as inbox and article, not started, and it's going to say it was on the 5th. If it's not the 5th, which this one wasn't, then I can actually, within my extension, this is so cool, I can go back and say, actually, this was September. So I can go back and say the 23rd of September, which means all of the information that previously I had to put in by hand, I don't anymore. I can do it at this point and then save it. And all of that information will be there when it's clipped. So don't just rely on the basic clipper. Have a look round and see what else is much, much better. This one is particularly impressive, and he does keep working on it as well. The speed of this is probably Notion. People are probably wrapping up on a Friday afternoon in the States, and Notion it's had a couple of issues this week, so it's taking its sweet time. So that's not the extension, that's just Notion trying to save it. But back in our LMS, this was the one that I clipped manually, so I'll put on there manual, and hopefully at some point this will finish strutting its stuff, hopefully within my lifetime. Be good if it was in the time of the demo, wouldn't it? Might be, might not. We'll leave it going and see how it goes. But that's just another extension, which is this Save to Notion one. So I will put that in the chat. So if you are interested in the Notion Clipper, but it's the alternative Clipper. So I'll put Notion Alternative Clipper, and hopefully that URL isn't too long. There we go, it's gone in, I think. I think we're all right. Right, so that's just in terms of getting things in. That's not looking good, is it? I hate doing a demo on a system that might be down, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right, we will carry on working with it while it thinks about it anyway. So the clipper is the first thing to think about. if you want to clip very basic, you are going to have to go in and manually mark things to go in the inbox and all kinds of other things. That clipper is better for that kind of content. But the main thing we need to think about in here at the moment is the course, if we want to add a course. And that's all to do with what's below the fold. So at the moment, we have in here courses, articles and summit. So if we go into courses and edit it, this is the template that we've got. Templates are where you can specify content in hand, both above and below the fold. So I personally with this, I might have this stuff in it, but the interesting thing to me is this table here. That's the interesting bit. So I'm going to open this as a page. Now remember, we are editing a template at the moment. So that's why we have this big stripe across the top. Don't start putting content in here. This is the template. You obviously can't specify the URL at this point, and you're probably not going to know any of the dates. Exception to that is if you always review every quarter, you could put that date in and update it every quarter. Reminder date, you're probably not going to know, but the status is probably not started, I would suggest. So you could have that as the default. And then if you have a particular type of content that you're working on in here, you could set that. Now, bear in mind what we're looking at here. This is the template for a course. So obviously it would be a content type of sort of course. So we'll put that in. If when you make this, you add a new course, you want it in the inbox, so it's front and center, then you can do that by choosing inbox. And we also have as a tag course. Now, why we've got that, I don't know, because we've already got content type as a course. So actually, I don't think we really need that. I think we could actually delete that one because we've got it as a content type. You probably can't specify the cover at this point either. Right, now, the next big thing to think about is that page at the moment, and remember, editing a template, it's not full width. And once you're working with a table, you will thank yourself if it's full width. So I've made it full width. Now, we have here already, we got this master tables thing. Now, I will on the grand tour, Kim, be taking you through the engine room as well. But I've done it slightly differently in here as a course. And that's because I want to make the course self-contained. So if I put the master table for this course in my engine room, it would not be self-contained in here. So think of this at the bottom as the mini engine room. It's the master table. It's identical to the table above it, except this one has an arrow on it and this one doesn't because it's the core table. The reason that I'm doing this, remember, is that this core table you can add views to, but you can't duplicate the core table. If you do, you'll end up with 2 copies of all the content. So that's why we make a master table and then leave it alone. This one you might want to duplicate. Now you might say to me, I would never want 2 copies of the same table on the same page. Why would I do that? Well, you may want a gallery of the whole thing, and then underneath it, you may want to have a list of what's outstanding. It depends. But you definitely, at the template stage, which is where we're at now, making a master copy for you to make derivatives from for all the courses that you take, you may want to try and make this table as generic as possible. And that's what I do. So we have a name. Now the name is actually the unit name, for want of a better name. I always put a reference in, which is just a number. And I scoot that down and I put that as the first one. And remember, this is course content. What else do you need to know? Well, I'd need to know if I'd done it or not. So is it complete? Is it done? In which case, put a checkbox on it. And that's so important to me, I would probably have that between the reference and the name, which is the name of the module, the unit, whatever you want to call it. Then I've got section and I've got unit. But certain providers call things different things. So just to show you, I think, where am I logged in? I have no idea. Let's have a look. No, that's not what I want. Right. I'm going to LinkedIn Learning. That's not good. What's it doing? LinkedIn Learning. Why is it taking me somewhere else? There we go. Am I logged in? I am. Fabulous. Oh, there's a course updated here, Mike. Excel Power User Challenge. Guess who's done the course? You should know this one straight off. Even I know this guy.
Layla.
Guy.
Oh.
Clue was in the name Guy.
Mr. Excel.
No, it's Oz.
Oh.
Right, so this is LinkedIn Learning. So I'm in the middle of half a dozen courses here, as ever, and then I find a new one and I want to do that one as well. So these are the courses that they have, whichever course they have. So let's look at this systems thinking course there. Right, they have chapters. So what they call them is chapters. And within chapters, they then have lessons. So we have the why systems thinking. In fact, is the individual videos the chapters? I can't remember the actual lingo that they use. But every one is different. So this one is actually in sections and you can actually fold them up. So this has sections and it has chapters within them, or however you want to organise it. And we don't have a way to handle that because in here we don't have chapter. So what I do is actually add that in. So add in chapter. I'm trying to work out which is which because it makes a difference. Let's assume the chapter is the higher level. So let's say that that's not what we're looking for. Come on. Let's say that the chapter, there's 4 chapters. In fact, there's 5 because we've got the conclusion as well. Let's say these are chapters and within them we have lessons. There's going to be however many there are. Depends on the length of the course. This is just 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Sometimes they're 28 hours and there's 57 chapters with videos in each one. But however, if you look at them, there's 3 in that one and there's 5 in that one. So that should be telling you that this should not be text. This should be a select. And then you can put it in once and then just select it for consistency. So we'll have a chapter, which is exactly the same as a section. And the reason that I'm putting both in this table is if it's a LinkedIn Learning course and they use the phrase chapter, I want my table to reflect that. So I'm not getting confused as to what I'm actually looking at. So I'm building this to be as generic as possible. And then when it comes to use it, which I'll show you, I'll add a course and you can actually see, I would actually be able to just delete what I'm not using. So put in as much as you like here. Another phrase that's used is module. That's used a lot. If a module, I would say a module's the level of a chapter, so that would probably be a select and push that up there. Sometimes a module's in a section. It depends. It just depends on the course. Unit is another one. I think Sarah's used the term unit. So you could put that in there. That could be a select. It could be text if it is. I would put that in if there's more than one. So if there are X number of lessons per unit, then I would actually make that a select. And then type the units in at the point you create this course. You can't do that at this point, which is the template. But the name here, you might want to change that. You might want that to be lesson. Maybe you want that to be video. It could be name, you could leave it, or you can put this in and you're making it generic as you go. So let's say that's enough to make that generic. That's the individual lesson that we're looking at, which could belong to a chapter, a section, a module, a unit. We can delete those as we need them later. Right, do you even need 3 records in here? Probably not. What else is missing? Let's have a look if you're awake, unlike Jonathan, sleeping like a baby. But do look at Lola's picture, Jonathan, because she's sleeping like a baby as well. Mike, could you give me some water while you sat there doing nothing? What is missing from this? Think visual. There's two things particularly that come to my mind that if this was going to be my template is something that I would use. One I would add in here as another field. This time I would call it I'd call it cover, which is an image that represents this particular lesson. And to do that, you make it files and media. And we'll put that on the end. Probably before the tags, though. And the other thing that I would do is, and that's why I'm going to leave it that we do actually have 3 records here. All we've done with this is the default view. It's just a table. We've not added any views. You need to add the other views. You see, Sarah's there. Whoa, cover picture. Quite right. Right, you need to add the other views. And one of the views that I love to add is the gallery view. Gallery view. Now, you can do quite a lot at this template stage. So don't leave this and think, oh, I'll just put a table in and then I'll make the views that I need when I add the course. No, because you can do so much now. If you look at some of the ones that I've put together, let me see if I can show you one that I was doing. Is it that one? This was something that came on Creative Live this week. So this was a course that I worked through at lunchtime. Down here, I've got the gallery. I've not completed this at all. I'm only halfway through the course and I've made my notes. I don't have thumbnails. These are actually just pulling through from the content. So if I show you where that's come from, these are the notes that I've taken down here, and it's just pulling through the first image that it finds. Once I've added my cover to it, so do I have a cover up here? I do. Once I've added my covers, I will change that. But you should also notice in this view that instead of just having the image and the title underneath, I've actually got whether it's complete or not and how long it was, which is quite important to me as I'm working through it. I also then have the table view, which is just the standard thing. And you can see I've done very little on this at the moment because I've literally only just started it. I try and do a course that's at least like half an hour to an hour every day, which means in a year I probably do about 350 courses, which is how I keep up to date. So it's very easy for me if I've already got these set up. So let's have a look how we would set that up in here. At the moment, we've just got Untitled, which is the title of the thing, so that's fine. What do we want in here? Do we want it to be the content, or do we want it to be from a cover picture? And probably the cover picture. So in the gallery view, what we need to do is edit that. And you need to edit it in 3 different ways. Oh, Lola's woken up. You awake now, girl? Just getting more comfortable. I'm obviously disturbing her. You need to edit it in 3 different ways. 1, you need to manually make sure it's sorted in the way you want it sorted. 2, you need to make sure that the correct filter is applied for this view. And 3, you need to adjust the properties so it's exactly what you want to see. So let's do all 3 of those. So first of all, the sort is the really easy one. Add a sort. Now, if I do it by lesson or video, I'm going to get it alphabetical, ascending or descending, which is not what I want, which is why I put in a reference. So I want the reference ascending, and in the reference, I'll just put a number and be done with it. I wish there was that field type from Notion, but they're not bothered. So I put it in myself. Right. That means when I put numbers in, they'll be sorted correctly. Next one to do is the filter. What do I want in here in terms of a filter? And to be honest, in this one, I don't particularly want it filtered in any kind of way. I would if I wanted to see what I'd done or what I didn't do, or by section, but in this particular global view, I don't really need that. So I'm going to remove that. We don't need a filter on this particular view. What we do need is to go back in here again and go to properties. And what we've got in properties is the properties of the table as we're looking at it, the gallery view as we're looking at it. So at the minute, we have the text of the lesson or video, depending on what we're calling it, which is 3 untitled at the moment. If you want to see the chapter it comes from, you could turn that on. The cover we want to see, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Do you want to see if it's done or not? And I probably do. So now we've got, is it done? Yes, no. You could also see the module, the section, or the unit. Now, what I would do is I would put all of these together, because I don't think there's many courses that would have all of those words in them. So I'm going to turn all of those on so we can see them. But we don't need the cover, we don't need the reference, and we don't need the tags. And you can move these about, and this will determine the order that they appear underneath. Now, when it comes to the actual cover itself, it's the card preview at the top of the properties, and at the moment it's set to page content. You should be better changing that to cover if you're adding your own covers. And it's a good idea to fit the image to it. Alternatively, sometimes it happens where your images they just don't look right. They're cropped in a weird way. If that happens, go into the size, choose large or small, and then change it back to the size you prefer, and it will reload them and recrop them so that you can see in the entire cover. You can also decide here, when it first loads, how many pages, or in this case, how many lessons do you want to see. Now, if you're Sarah and you've got 300, I would just say just load the lot, because I want to see them all. There's no point showing me 10 and have me load them in manually. Plus the fact, when you do add a filter, you want to see all the records and not think, where's that one gone? And it's not until you get to the bottom you think, oh, it's not loading them all in. So I would say to set that to load them all in. Good night, Tony. Okay, so now we've got a gallery view set up. The table view we had is now got a default name of table. And that happens because it didn't have a name initially. I tend to just call the thing table and be done. Whichever one is at the top is going to be the default. So make your mind up when you go in here which you want to see first. Most of the time I do work in gallery view when I'm working with it, but sometimes table view. So I'll work on the principle I need to add the stuff quickly. So I'm going to leave mine set to table view. You can, of course, have other views. So when you go to add a view, you could create a board view. You could have a timeline, but be very careful because there's only so many timelines that you can have per account. You could have a calendar view if this was something you were doing on a regular basis. Or you could have a list view, which is the lovely simple view. Let's make a board view, because that could be quite handy for tracking things. So we'll make a board view. And at the moment, it's by section in here, and we've got them all in the same place. But what we don't have, that page should not be in the trash. That's bizarre. We can see it. It certainly shouldn't be in the trash. It's going to pull them in by section. So what we need to know, first of all, that's not what I needed to do, but we've just gone into the database, so it's fine. Right, what we need to do with that is in here, group by. How do you want it grouped? Now, this one's grouped by section. It could be grouped by unit or chapter or module or tags. Those are the elements, the metadata, that you can use as columns in this board view. So if you wanted to see them by what section they were in, or what unit they were in, or what chapter they were in, you could do that. One of them needs to be set. So we've got it set to section, right? I would love to have the different views here, but I'm thinking, you go away, we don't want you. I'm thinking it will become clear why I may have to either duplicate these. I'm going to delete things later, and if I've got views based on that could potentially cause problems. So I'm going to leave that alone at the moment. That's going to be my board view. Right, so I've got in here my 3 views, and I could create as many of those as I wanted. So for instance, in this table view, what I could do is duplicate it. So duplicate the table view. It now says copy of table, and go into it and say there, table to do. Right. Now, I'm going to add a filter to this, which is, if it's still to be done, which is this done column here, I want to see that. So I go into here and I put a filter on it. Remember, we didn't have a filter on it before. Now we've got a filter on it. So I'm going to add a filter where done is not done. So where it is still outstanding. And that will give you a view that will show you what you've got left to do in this course. But remember this, overall, you're in the template. You want to do as much as humanly possible, but not down to the level of personalising it to an individual course. So these are all generic views that I'm putting on here. With mine, I am not actually at the state at the moment. So if we look at my genuine stuff here, this one has a gallery view. It has a table view. It does not have all the fancy schmancy views because I've been doing it as and when I go, because I don't know what the content of the course is going to be. If we look at something much, much bigger, no, I do not need that. That's definitely the wrong place. That's definitely the wrong place. No, I don't know where I'm going with this. Hang on, where have we gone? Where's the LMS gone? Where's my icon? It's vanished on me. It was down here somewhere. Hang on. I've got too many things open, haven't I? Oh, good grief, where's it gone? Never mind, we'll use the other one. We'll use the other one. Oh no, hang on, have I found it? I think I have. Hang on, there we go. There it is. Right, this is my demo one here. Right. These are what I'm working on at the moment. So if we look at one of these others, let's try that summit one. Right, this being a summit is totally different. So I've got the standard gallery view. I've also got a table view, and there's quite a lot in that because there's so many sections to it. That was hours and hours. I think it's a 3-day thing. I've also got the calendar, and it's actually those are the 3 days that it was on. It wouldn't make sense to have that with a video-based calendar from LinkedIn. It wouldn't. So I've been playing it pretty much by ear until I work out what's good to have there and what's overkill that you're just going to delete. And I think with that one, I did even have a board as well, whether it was an intro session, a keynote. So it just depends on the actual content. We're just trying to build something that's fairly basic. Fairly basic. I've got a question from Sarah. You showed some other Yoga Notion pages. You've tried surfing the web. Haven't managed to find us. Is there a specific site? You tried Notion templates as well. I will get you the link to that, Sarah. It was put in the Facebook group. There is a Facebook group. Where's Firefox? Because they have Facebook locked away. Right, let's go to Facebook. I do hope there's nothing inappropriate on my Facebook homepage. Oh, that'll be inappropriate. It's a carrot thing. Right, never mind. It's Notion Made Simple, which is the Facebook group. So what I did in there was, you can search in here. So you're looking for something in Notion Made Simple. And it was a lady that put in some templates. So if I search for yoga, I should find, posts you've seen, because I have seen them. Why am I not seeing it in here? That's not good, is it? Let's try yoga template, because this is where I found it. Here we go. I've made a template of all the yoga foundations. This was February the 15th. So all I did there, yeah, she's done this quite a lot. There you go. There's Jira in there and all kinds of stuff. So let's have a look. That looks like a yoga one. So click on that. That's a Yoga Foundations one that we looked at. So that's where I found it from. So I would suggest joining the group. What I can do, if you want the links, wasn't this the one that linked to all the other ones? I think there was a thing at the bottom. More templates, click here. So I click there, and now that comes up, but I don't know why. That's weird, because it says more templates, so I think it should be open. But that's the one that I found, and then from there you can duplicate it. So I will put that one in the chat. I did find some others. One must have been this one. I go to their site. There was a link and it did take you to other templates. Can't quite find it right now, which is typical, isn't it? But it's all off this Facebook group. So if I have no idea with Facebook, if I put that, because I'm in it, so it will just take me to it. I'll put the link in and hopefully you'd be able to join. You have to fill this thing in, but you know, it's pretty much there. So hopefully that will give you some idea of what else you can do with it. Right, so we've taken that as far as we possibly can, or as far as you want to. So it could be that you've got boards in there, you've got tables, you've got galleries, you've got whatever you want in there. And I've set that default to be the table, and that is creating the course template. So if we go back, we do not want to be there, we want to be where we were, which is probably all the way up here, isn't it? Right, so we've set that up at the level of the core table. So we edited courses. You could edit articles, you could edit summits in exactly the same way. What you've got to think about is what needs to be above the fold, below the fold. Most of the stuff, so have a look at this one. The URL is going to be automatically populated if you clip stuff to this. If you don't, you can manually put it in. The dates are going to be manually put in by you. The summary is going to be put in by you, the status by you. So all of this you're going to put in anyway. With this being an article, the only thing I really need with it is the delivery date and the URL. I don't really need anything else with an article. And that's why I showed you this extra clipper where you can put that in at the point that you are clipping it. Below the fold for an article, there really wouldn't be much to me. But if there is, and you've clipped the article, your problem is, like with this one, let's open this as a page. If I have a template, which I do, I can't really do much with it because the article's there. But what you can do is take the article and cut it. And that takes you back to a blank page. And then you can apply your article template. Please don't take as long as the last one. Oh, come on, Notion, you can do it. Right. And then it says article text, but I've given myself space to write a full executive summary and put the authors in, which isn't something that's up here. The author is not in my meta. It could be, but it wouldn't really fit into a course, would it? So back under the article text, I can then just paste the article back in. So I can cut the article that I've already clipped and then paste it back in. You will notice, however, there's the images. So the images are coming in. These images are not saved in your Notion configuration. They are linked to. If they disappear, you will lose access to them. You won't lose the text, but you will lose the graphics. What you need to do, if that's a problem, and it was to me when that happened, is you can at this stage go and actually download that. And there it is. All right, I'll click on the folder. That will load it over here. And I can then bring that back in. And now the bottom one is in my Notion. The top one is not. So what I can do is then delete that one. And then I've got the graphic underneath. And I know it won't be going anywhere because it's mine. I have now saved it in there. That one's linked. That one's embedded. Actually, it is linked, but it's linked to an S3 installation on Notion that's mine. So if that disappeared off the website, I would still see it because it's on my space on S3 for Notion. This bottom one is actually on the blog that it was captured from. How did I manage with a desk that small? And that desk wasn't small, it was about 5 foot then. This one's about 7 foot, that's why. Okay, so be very careful with the graphics. Right, let's go back up into here. So that's our table and that's our actual LMS. So when it comes to actually adding the content, if what you're doing is capturing an article, then capture the article and get it into your inbox and triage it there. If it's a course, you know we've just created and improved this courses template. By choosing new from inbox, it will automatically add a tag of inbox. So I will say new course. And it's thinking about it. Oh, bless its little heart. Right. So we're now not working with the template. We're working with a course. So let's go back and get that LinkedIn course that I do believe I'm halfway through and have not added into here, which is the Systems Thinking one. Yep, it's just called Systems Thinking. So that's the title of it. No, we don't want to put all of that back in. Come on. I'll just type it. It'll be easier. Right, Systems Thinking. Right, I need the URL of that course. So I will go and get that, which handily is nice and short, which I will then put in there. Right, the delivery date of it. Delivery date's actually quite important to me, so I know how old a course is. Luckily on LinkedIn, it actually tells you. So this one was 2019, and it was the 13th of June. So I do take time and put that in. I also take time and make sure that it's my preferred date format, because otherwise I lose the will to live. Right, I'm currently working in it, so I don't need a review date or a reminder date. So my status is in progress. It's a course and it's tagged in the inbox. I don't have a cover for it, but this is something that I would then try. So if I put in there, Systems Thinking, linked in learning, hopefully I've spelt that right, and then look for images. There's the guy doing the class. So that would do nicely. That looks like that is the art for the course. Yep, so I will grab that and put it on my shelf, move that out of the way and add that as the course image, which is in course cover. Right, down the bottom, here's where it gets really interesting. Now, I don't need contact details because obviously not relevant. So they're in my template, but I can just delete them, which is what I'm going to do with the rest of this, with what's not relevant. So I know that this is a LinkedIn course. And with it being a LinkedIn course, they use the term chapter. They have lessons in chapters. So that means I don't need that. So I would just delete it. I don't need modules, just delete it. It's easier to delete it than it is add it in, because then you've got work to do. And they don't have units either. So I would delete that one. Cover, I may put covers in per lesson. I might put tags in per lesson, so I'll leave that alone. And then I just start putting the detail in. So as I'm working with it, now it depends on what mood it's in. It's always fascinating to work out what mood it's in. And what I mean by that is, I have in Google Sheets, so let's just get a new spreadsheet. Just a new spreadsheet in Google Sheets. And all I do is put in here 001. And I'm putting an apostrophe at the beginning, so it's text and it keeps the zeros. Otherwise it doesn't. Right, I can't remember how many lessons there are, but let's say there's 18. There are my numbers. Copy. Depending on what mood it's in, you may be able to paste into there by selecting those. Oh, it's in a good mood today. So that makes that much easier. At which point, this table should have a sort on it, shouldn't it? If we think back to what we did with the gallery, we don't have the reference showing, but let me show you the reference. I don't particularly need the reference because I would trust the fact that the sort's working. But I'm going to put the reference on so you can see that the sort is there and the sort is working. But we didn't put a sort on that table. So that's maybe something that I would make a note of and then go back and change the template. But if we do that and we say sort ascending, that gives us a sort, automatically populates it, and now they're in the right order. If we had the lesson names, maybe it would be in a good mood with that as well. Always worth a try, isn't it? So what I'm doing over there, let's bring that back, put lesson lowly, you sound like a train. Right, let's see, first of all, what mood's this in? That should be in a very good mood. Right, copy. Come back to here, select the first one and drag down and paste. Excellent. So if you have a syllabus or anything like that, a spreadsheet maybe that you've got all the content in, you could do the bulk import that we did with Sarah's, this massive table, or you could just do it like this. We just copy and paste it in. And then I would start putting this in. So let's say that that chapter is the introduction, right? That will add it. And let's say this one is, where are we with that course? The next one is, right, in fact, that wasn't introduction. So let's go delete that. Right, what we did have was why systems thinking with a question mark. Right, and in there, how many videos do we have in there? We have 2. So this second one is also going to be that. But the third one we move on to making sense of a complex world. Yeah, that's because people are bizarre. Right, and this one is also that one, and so is, how many we got? Oh no, hang on. It's what is systems thinking. I have gone wrong here. So let me get rid of that. Yeah, remove it. Right, the first 4 are why systems thinking. And the one after that is what is systems thinking. Right, and that one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Where's my what is? Crying out loud. What is systems thinking? Thinking. Right. Yes, I want you to create that. That one. Go away. And then put that in for the next 5 videos. And that's how I would populate it. So what we did with the template was add things in that we wouldn't need. But it's way easier to delete when you come to this stage than it is add stuff in. So that's why you would build below the fold as flexible as possible, but include things that you know you will delete. But there's other things in there already that you won't delete, and that will make life much easier. When we go back to the gallery of that, you will see that we have the why systems thinking underneath and then the what is systems thinking after that. And once we've put our posters in the fields in there, we'll be able to see them as well. If you don't have any posters, it's fairly simple to go back in there and change that from the cover into the content, page content, and then you will at least see something through there. And the example of that I had, we're not on that page anymore. Where are we? Was this one in here, which was the one that I was working on, and I haven't created anything in there for that. All I did was leave it set to the page content. So if the page content happened to be type first, you would see that. There is some type in here. Here you go. So if the text was at the top, you would actually see the text. And we have an LMS, and it should be flexible enough to handle anything. I will mention why the master tables are at the bottom again, which is I have an engine room. The majority of my master tables go in there. The reason that I have not done that with this is I want it to be self-contained. That could be because I want to make it available as a template. And obviously I don't want to give people access to stuff that's in the engine room. It should all be together. So I've put that at the bottom, but there would be nothing to stop me putting that in my engine room if I wanted to. Either way, you shouldn't be tinkering with it. It's irrelevant. If you want to manage the thing, we built in the LMS management, if you remember, and I said what we would do in there is put a link to the database. So I want a linked database, and the one I want is my links LMS. And you treat this as your master management area. So pretty much everything's in the wrong order. What I would do in here is start building in the views that I particularly want to see and do that in here. You could, if you find that, you know, I've got 27 views to manage it and it's complicated, then make this a mini dashboard. Make this your LMS management dashboard and embed other pages, and in the other pages embed other templates, other tables, other instances of this table. So it can be as easy as just one table, or as complicated as a master dashboard just for management and many, many mini dashboards for management. Complicated or as simple as you want. But I've decided for this one to leave the master tables at the bottom. It doesn't really matter which way you go about it. It's as long as it makes sense to you. And this bit over here, we were going to build in, we were going to filter for stuff, which I haven't particularly got in here. So what I'm going to do with that is mark it up for the grand tour and probably do it live on mine, so we've actually got data in it, because we don't have much in terms of data in there at the moment, do we? Okay, do we have any questions about that? Let me get to the chat so I can see it. Kim uses templates a lot. Templates are good. Templates are very good. It's if you can make them as extensive as possible and even include stuff you wouldn't use in all of them, it's easier to delete than it is to add. Plus the fact, if you add something you think that's genius, it's not in all the other ones you've done. So you then got to go back and put it in the other ones. But I've left mine fairly flexible because of the different type of content. But as I say, we'll probably look at that in the grand tour. So do we have any other questions about that? Or shall we wrap up and then I can show you this toy? Where's it gone? Let me have my toy there. Right. Okay, let's get back into here. Right, it's sort of an unboxing, but the thing is it's already unboxed. It wouldn't have been the most exciting unboxing, but it is a bit of a toy. So I'm going to do this. And I think I'll do it where will AirPlay my phone, because that'll do. In fact, I'll let Mike AirPlay my phone because I can't hold this and do everything else as well. Genius though I am, that's not going to be possible. So I need to get the app up. Right, that's all you need, Mike. In fact, I might be able to do it. I don't know. Right, let's get that AirPlay. That would be a start, wouldn't it? AirPlay. Oh, where's the icon?
Screen mirroring.
Screen mirroring, that's the one. Why did that just disappear? Right, it's mohawking. It's mohawking, so eventually it should appear. There it is. Awesome sauce. Right, so you can see it all. Let's move that out of the way. I might need you to hold the iPad or something. Right, iPad. Right, this is a 2018. You hold that there. Right, try and hold it steady. Right, it's a 2018 iPad. We don't want that. No, we don't want that either. Oh, for crying out loud. We wanted that where it was. That's what we wanted. But I was showing you that at the side there, it uses a USB-C. And here is the USB-C cable that it uses. It could just be me, but when I plug it in and I'm working with it, thus, it's rather annoying to have that staring at me and trailing across the table and everything else that's near it. So, the answer to that was the toy, which is that. And all that is, I'm going to plug the cable into there and then plug this into the iPad, and it's going to make a massive difference. So let's put that on there and that in there, and now it goes downwards. I know, but I just think that's far neater, and it works much better with a laptop as well, because the laptop one sticks out very inelegantly at the side. So that's my replacement cable for the Apple cable. It's an anchor cable, as you can see. And this was the princely sum. I got two of them for £4.80. There you go. Dee says I'm using a 2017 iPad Pro with a lightning cable instead of USB-C like a peasant. This is the only iPad I have that uses the USB-C. All of my other ones, in fact, I've got 3 iPads that use the 30-pin connector and 2 phones. Oh, prehistoric or what? It just looks a lot neater and it makes it a lot easier to work with it. And obviously on the laptop, even more so. So if you hold that, Mike, while I grab the next bit. That's the next bit, which is this, so I'll get that out of the way. This is my 2018 MacBook Air. It has those 2 ports, and that's it. That's just the headphone jack thing. So it's that bit there. And again, without this on it, it's very inelegant. Let me just get more of this cable round here. Right, so normally this has to come over here and stick out inelegantly like that. Which means this is across there. I've got to take it round. It's just hideous, isn't it? It's hideous. So if I put this on, it just made a noise of some description as well. I can have that either. Can't see what I'm doing there. It's there somewhere. Come on. There we go. I can either have that going backwards, which means this is totally flat across the desk, or if it's coming from somewhere else, and for whatever reason, get that out. I can get that out. Come on. Out you come. There we go. And turn it round so it's the other way. Why didn't Apple do that? That's just so much neater. Why didn't Apple do that? Now, that actually is not the best place to put that if you're going to do that, because it is going to cover up the other port, which doubtless you're going to need for your dongle. So take that out and put it in there, and then that leaves the back one for your dongle, and you're good to go. It's just how it should be. It is, it's genius. £4.80 for 2. Unbelievable. You're giving that back to me now. So there we go. Oh, I know what you need to see. It'll be pretty dark. We'll come this way and we'll go past all the stuff tonight. Hand sanitizer. Look at that. She's worried about her image right now. Little tongue stuck out. There we go. And if only she was snoring, you'd be able to hear her. Oh, bless. Isn't she just so adorable? Ah, there we go. So back to the desk. Oh, let's come out of that. There we go. Out of the way. Awesome. Okay, that was what they were. The link, Mike's got the link. I don't know if he's done anything with it. Probably not. There were 2 in the packet. The only thing, it'd be nice if they were white because they'd match the cable. But they do just make such a huge difference. I didn't know that was on the other side, on the MacBook Pro. No, it's not. That's flipped. Look at the keyboard. Naughty, naughty. It's flipped. It is. It's on the other side where mine was. So Mike will put the link in for those if you're interested. I did contemplate a right-angled cable, you know, as you do, because it was £4.80 for 2. But I thought, wouldn't it be even neater still, I thought to myself, if I had an actual cable that was one piece? And I thought that would be grand. And then I looked at the cables. Oh, it's not as simple as that. No, there are cables from £3.99, but they're not suitable for Apple stuff. They don't charge or they don't data transfer. They're not strong enough for a 100-watt charge. So I thought, you know what, just stick with the little end things and then you're using a cable that you know is right. So possibly don't, if you're going to be tempted by a cable, you know, and do it the right way, like a 3-metre cable or something, make sure that you get one that is actually approved for the Apple stuff, because otherwise it probably won't work. Right, let's get on to what we've got coming up. And obviously, we have an After Hours next week, don't we? But, before then, it's Mad March. And it starts Sunday at 3 o'clock. And we are going live every Sunday in March and the first week in April, see how we do, with a whole range. And I finally finished all of the posters last week, so there was a couple last week. Not quite there, but they are now. So we're starting on Sunday with the Master of the Export Persona in Affinity Designer, which I've been threatening for probably the best part of 18 months. The Export Persona, if you don't know, it might not sound very thrilling, but trust me on this, it is fabulous.
Debbie says woo-hoo.
Debbie's very interested in the Export Persona. So am I. I moved to Affinity Designer from Sketch, as some of you may remember. And Sketch was the first app that had the ability to make something in one size in the app and then export it at totally different size. And I thought, this is brilliant. And I don't mean like go file export, change the size, because, peasants. No. It's all automated. And Sketch, when I bought it, was $7.99. Sketch, when I left it, was £100 a year per machine. That's why I left it. But before I could leave it, I needed to know for absolute certain that I would be able to have as good an export experience in Designer. So I goes into Designer. Couldn't find a thing. Then I thought, there's this export persona thing. And I'm looking at it. There's no documentation. So I'm stabbing around completely in the dark, randomly putting stuff in, thinking, I wonder what it'll happen if I do this. There really is. If the documentation was as good as the feature, we'd be there. But I stuck with it. And because I'd got the experience from Sketch, I was able to take it as far as Sketch and then found like 10 features that just took it way beyond. I couldn't get away from Sketch fast enough. That's how good it is. So, export persona, Sunday. The following week, blend modes. These were, I put 3 sessions up, didn't I? And the one that won was the newsletter, and the export persona and blend modes were the other 2. And that's the order that they came in. Export persona followed by blend modes. So we're going to be looking at blend modes. Now, you will also notice here, pay attention. Are we all awake, apart from Jonathan, obviously, and paying attention? This one, 1500 UK, 3 p.m. in the UK, 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern. Aha. This one, Kim gets a lie in, doesn't she? This one, America changed their time things. We don't. We have got another 2 weeks before we do that. So the 14th blend modes is 8 o'clock in the morning PT and 11 Eastern, as is the create creative tables in Affinity Publisher. So another lie-in. But then we change our clocks and then it's all back to normal. I've put 3 o'clock UK time because if I start putting GMT and BST, we're all going to go crazy. But this is when it is. So we're back to 7 o'clock AM, which I know it's early. I know, but it'll be available on demand. So that one is mastering master pages in Affinity Publisher. I think we've looked at master pages as and when we've needed them, but not actually focused on them in terms of what can I do? Because there's quite a lot that you can do. And we're wrapping up with Bridge because reason we're going for 3 o'clock on a Sunday is that, according to YouTube, is when most people are watching my videos. So it makes sense to be there when the crowd is there. And one of my most watched videos was Adobe Bridge in 2014. So given the fact that in 2014 it was a paid for toy and now it's a free toy, makes sense to talk about the free toy that is Adobe Bridge. Especially in the absence of a digital asset manager from Affinity, which apparently they may be working on. But given that they're trying to get Affinity Publisher out on iPad, it could be a while. So let's use Bridge in the meantime. So I will do the session on Bridge. Right, available on demand is everything. So youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We also have our After Hours playlist, which I carefully triage every week to make sure things are in the right place. To get there, easiest way is to go to MacBites.co.uk/After Hours playlist, and that will take you straight there. We are also going live every day whilst we are marooned, increasingly marooned, at MacBites headquarters. That is the feed to subscribe to. I have no idea if how this would work for you on your device. If you point a camera at it, I have now got the QR code. But I have a sneaking suspicion that would probably open in Safari. And you really need it opening in your podcatcher. So if anybody's got a podcatcher that reads QR codes, do let me know and I'll promote the life out of it. And all of that is taking place on MacBites FM. Have you got yourself into a... Oh, look at the state of you now. Totally unbelievable. She's turned over, so she's on her back. That means she starts sneezing. So all of that is on MacBites FM. We love you guys. If you love us, can you give us a like? Because it really makes a difference. And if you want first dibs on everything I'm doing, including Mad March, you need to go to elainegiles.com/VIP. I think we will be sending a mail about it to MacBites, probably tomorrow, to get round to writing it. And that is macbites.co.uk/MacBites-mail. Then there's Slack, which is where we carry on the conversation. And we'd love it if you joined us. macbites.co.uk/Slack. Is Jonathan still asleep?
I would expect so.
I think he is. I'm having a look. See, she's moved now because I was going to put the camera back on. Seems though she was on her back, but now she's rolled over. Bless her little cotton socks. Okay, that is where you can catch us. So, I'm going to put that up over there. That's a slightly different size, isn't it? Need to sort that out. While I come out and check the chat. It's very, very important that I check the chat. Elaine for the win. That's what I needed to see. Excellent. Right, I'm going to key that up and key that up. That was the state of play. Oh, we're heading to double figures here. We're heading to double figures. And where have we gone? Where on earth have we gone? No, it's that one. Right, there we go. I'm going to add one. You ready? Whee! 9-2. 9-2. Good morning, Jonathan. Hope you enjoy it when you're watching it. Right, let's catch up with what's in here then. If you're going to be tempted by a cable, we really are nerds. You are. It's got to be just right. It has. It's got to be just right. And if, the right angle on the cable, you need it. I just can't be doing with cable sticking out my iPad. It makes me... I'm conscious that I'm going to catch it and pull it. And I just think if it's neater and it's running down the side, there's less chance of that. So they're definitely a goodbye they were on my part. There seems to be a bug in 1.9.1. When exporting to a PNG, the size is larger than the original size and not as sharp. I did have that the other day, Debbie, and I was looking at it and I was working with two images. Those posters are PNGs, but they're also SVGs, which they wouldn't have been if I was using Keynote. But because I'm using PowerPoint, PowerPoint supports that. So I noticed a difference in quality. I wasn't particularly concerned about the size, but I certainly noticed a huge difference in quality. But there's actually a couple of things that are broken with Designer at the moment, and they know about it. So I'm hoping that there'll be a fix sooner rather than later. Good night, Renee. Okay, let's get that over there. So we won't let Jonathan worry about that overly long. Double figures, Jonathan challenge next week. So next week. Okay, so do we have any last minute questions? Don't forget to send in questions or anything else that you would like mentioned or covered, touched upon, however we want to think about it, in Mad March. So I've already got a question from Debbie, which is dealt with. So that's been added. I've actually built into the template. Oh, you have to see this in the grand tour. I've already built into the template places to put questions. So that would be a really good thing. I don't just want to have one question there, do I? Come on. I need more questions. So anything that you want to ask or want to know, can it do this? Can it do that? Because if you don't know, you'll never find out, will you? You see, especially with the export persona, there's no documentation. It's like, what does P mean? No idea. But if you put it in, it does something. Mad March, D, is what I'm calling all of these sessions on Affinity in March. Because I'm crazy to try it, but we're doing it anyway. Kim sent her project questions in the Slack AMA. I will go and find that, Kim, and I will add it to Notion. And hopefully Notion won't lose it anytime soon. What else have we got coming up soon? Note applications. Because young Jonathan said he needs a better notes app. And I found at least 3 that might fit the bill. One of them's totally free. That would definitely appeal. In fact, the other one has a pro thing, and I've tried it, and at no point has it said to me, oh yeah, you need to do this. You need to pay. And I'm thinking, well, what's this pro version? What am I paying for? Because it's working without. Okay, it's for Affinity Photo in the AMA. I will find it, Kim. No, she's not upside down, is she? She's kind of half and half. Do you reckon you could get her upside down? Do you think she'd go for it? She can be quite compliant.
She can.
At certain points, she can be compliant. Let's see. Oh, and it's all dark as well. We'll have to do it next week when she's upside down. Right, okay then. We will head off. And we will be with you tomorrow for 2 shows Saturday. So that will be Marooned at 7 and By Request at 8, where the theme is... Education. Frank made the point about the Venn diagrams with Pink Floyd, and I think he was right.
Yeah.
We need a kind of... what's that one, like a spoke chart, where there's one thing in the middle and a million spikes coming off it. One of those is what we need for that, definitely. And then on Sunday, 2 show Sunday. 2 show Friday, 2 show Saturday, and 2 show Sunday. It'll be amazing, isn't it? And haven't we got to fit a match in as well, isn't it, the derby?
Yeah.
Well,
that's after 2 show Sunday.
It's not, it's between.
Oh, it's between 2 shows.
It's between 2 show Sunday. So, a busy, busy weekend. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will be back with you tomorrow. Or, if you're not coming to Marooned or By Request, we'll see you Sunday for Mad March. But for the moment, it is good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.